Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
Hello, gang. It is Mac. I'm here today. Sorry, things are a little crazy. I've been scrambling here to get this done. As usual, that's pretty much what I always end up doing every show, is scrambling down to the wire to get all the stuff lined up and stuff. I've got a lot of stuff here for you, gang. By the way, this episode is titled The Truth About Donald Trump. This is episode 109 of On the Move with Mac Worley. I, of course, am your host, Mac Worley III. And if you're listening, first and foremost, I would like to welcome you to the program. If you're new, I would really appreciate you guys sticking around and getting to know, everything that we do here and getting to know me. I'd love to get to know you. If you would like to give us a call, anything that's on your mind, feel free to call in. The number to the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. You can message us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can get us on Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. I'll read your tweets live on the air. So today we have a whole lot of stuff to get to. Let me go ahead and go over the feature topics for today's show. Does it matter if Donald Trump is a progressive? We're going to talk about that, and I legitimately want to ask you guys, does that matter? Where does Donald Trump actually stand on the issues? We're going to find out with his own words. How could Donald Trump destroy the GOP, the Constitution, the economy, and bring us into World War III? We're going to cover all of this. And one thing I want to actually get to, this is in the featured topics. Why is Ted Cruz eligible to be president of the United States? This is a conversation I've had with one of my friends on Facebook, and she was telling me to do some research on this, and what I had done in the past is I was listening to the experts on this say that the Supreme Court would say that Ted Cruz is eligible, but I didn't know why. I was just listening to the experts, and I didn't do the research myself. Now I have. And I understand why Ted Cruz is eligible. We're going to talk about it. It's going to include the Natural Born Citizen Clause and what happened. So this is very important because you're going to hear, and you have heard from Trump and all the anti-Ted Cruz people saying that Ted Cruz can't be president. Well, it's just not true. It is absolutely not true, and I will explain why. I want to talk about pulling the lever for a third party. In what situation would you do that? What situation would I do that? And I'm happy to hear your guys' thoughts on that as well. Also, in the future topics, the FBI is trying to force Apple to open 12 phones that are not related to the San Bernadino terrorists. So this is the exact opposite of what we were being told by the government. And then the FBI went on to admit that the Apple litigation will set a precedent. So this will allow them, again, this is forcing Apple to open up a phone by creating a product that they did not otherwise have. We're going to get to that. A U.S. judge orders discovery to go forward over Clinton's private email system. Facebook's new emojis. You guys remember seeing those this week? They came out. Are they keeping tabs on you? We'll talk about it. Then lastly, and this may not be lastly because we have a whole lot of other things to get to, I want to talk about Twitter, how they are censoring conservatives and conservative thought. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive right into the first featured topic of today. And while we're doing this, if you guys would go to our website, OnTheMoveShow.com, if you're not already there, that's our main hub. That's where we have all of our good stuff over there. Please feel free to check that out. Also, now this is a personal favor to me. I would really appreciate it if you would do this. Go to Spreaker.com. That's SPREAKER.com/OnTheMoveShow. Please follow us on there. The more people that follow us, it means the more people that will find us in search results, and you're helping spread the message of liberty, and we would certainly appreciate that. Additionally, you can check us out on our Facebook. That's Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow, on Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. You can subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. And anyway, we're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial break. You guys don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
Hello, gang. First of all, the number to the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. The MacPack phone lines are open. I know you guys have an opinion on what we're going to be talking about. Doesn't matter if Donald Trump is a progressive. Does that even matter? And I'm asking this legitimately. This is a serious question. And why am I asking? Let me just break it down. Because, first of all, this is the episode that I'm going to break down everything Donald Trump. I want to be clear. I'm not a Donald Trump supporter. I'm not really an anyone supporter. Now, I will clarify. I will vote for Ted Cruz. I don't like him on some things, but I think out of the people that we have to pick right now, on all sides, everyone who is currently running for President of the United States between the GOP and the Democrat side, he's the only person that I could actually pull the lever for, Ted Cruz. And that's because he's a constitutionalist. All of his arguments, all of his points of view stem from values. They all go from an ideology based upon the Constitution. So that's something that I can get behind because I at least understand what that is bound by. And again, it's easy for me to tell if he's breaking his ideology, which I haven't seen. Now, granted, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell what he'll do in the future. But based upon his past conduct, he has followed his ideological roots. He has been trying to uphold the Constitution. So, again, nobody's perfect, and I have a lot of policy disagreements with him. But Ted Cruz is the only one I can vote for. And this is because it does matter to me if my person is outside of the bounds of my ideological threshold, okay? And what I mean, again, I have primary issues that are so important. The most important one is the Constitution. That's the linchpin here. If you are willing to just violate the Constitution, then I have a fundamental problem with supporting you. All right, as a candidate, I can't. If you think it's okay to ignore the Constitution, I just can't vote for you. And I'm sorry. #sorry not sorry, because I'm not going to apologize that I'm upholding my values. And I can't. I'm sorry, gang. I know that you guys are telling me. I had a lot of people out there saying that, especially the Trump supporters, you need to support Donald Trump. What if it's him or Hillary? I'm going to have no choice but to vote third party. I have no choice. And that's not on me. That's on the rest of America putting up a Donald Trump versus a Hillary Clinton. Now, I also think it won't matter anyway, because Donald Trump, head-to-head against Hillary Clinton, he loses. He loses bad. So it's not going to matter. A Donald Trump versus Hillary ultimately will end up in a Hillary for president. I mean, that's just the way it'll be. And, you know, I'm sure they'll try to blame spoiler, you know, say that some Libertarian candidate took a bunch, or some independent candidate took a bunch of the votes away from Donald Trump or whatever. But look, Donald Trump is not a conservative, and therein lies the problem. He is a progressive, and I'm going to make the case. And this is the show, by the way. If you have a Trump supporter in your life, if you have somebody who's adamantly telling you that they support Trump and you should too, look, I'm not going to just give you my opinion on this. I'm going to give you my opinion, yes, but I'm going to let you hear it from Trump. All right, I'm going to let you hear his own words. So again, I ask you, Donald Trump supporters, does it matter if Donald Trump is a progressive? Does it? I mean, look, right now you may not believe me that he is a progressive, but I'm going to lay out the case, and I want to hear you vocalize this, or in your head just say, yeah, it does matter. If he is a progressive, I can't vote for him, because ultimately, and let me ask you, why even bother voting for somebody if the choices are between Hillary Clinton, who is a progressive, and Donald Trump, who is a progressive? So after I lay out this case, I'm going to give you all the facts, and it's going to be from Trump himself. We're talking about his views. Where does he stand on the issues? So if he is in fact a progressive, will it change your mind, or are you a Trump voter that will vote for him no matter what, just simply because you're angry? You know, he could go literally shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, as he said, and you won't change your support for him. Is that true? Is that he thinks that little about his supporters, that he can literally murder someone in broad daylight in public and it won't sway anyone? So again, I ask you, does it matter if Donald Trump is a progressive? And if it doesn't matter, then what's the point in all this? What's the point in going through all of this at all? Why don't we just go ahead and literally pull the lever for Hillary? I'm not going to, but feel free, because there's no difference. If you're going to vote for one progressive, you might as well vote for another. At this point, we're just going to end up compromising all of our rights away, and this country is not going to be great again. Trump isn't going to make America great again. It's going to go right down the toilet. This is exactly the path that we're already on. So again, does it matter if he's a progressive? Here we go. So let's get right into it. First of all, Donald Trump supports a wealth tax. All right. So we're not talking about actually, you know, before I lay out, I'm going to lay out each individual thing. But let me first just cover the broad spectrum. He supports a wealth tax. He supports progressive income tax. He supports loosening the libel laws so that he can sue the media, essentially silencing freedom of speech. He supports the use of eminent domain for private use, so private financial gain. A private company stealing private property in order to make a financial gain. That's the City of New London versus Kelo decision. Donald Trump has been adamantly to this day defending it. We're going to cover all of this. Donald Trump said he would be neutral on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Donald Trump, let's see here, some other things. He's admitted to bribing politicians. He's donated both sides of the aisle, including his biggest competition, Hillary Clinton. He's donated to her campaign. The Democrats, Harry Reid among them, is saying that he's rooting for him. Let's see. Donald Trump is literally talking about anti-free market policies like tariffs, which would destroy our economy. Donald Trump is trying to start trade wars with China and Mexico. He's saying that he's going to have Mexico build the wall. Mexico isn't going to do that, so he's talking about trying to get it out of them through these tariffs. Do you support a no-fly zone? Do you support Libya invasions? Well, Donald Trump did, and he's lied about supporting it in the past. So anyway, we're going to go through all of this. So let's first start with the first thing. Does it matter if he's a liar? Does it matter if Donald Trump lies? Because I believe that it does. Again, this is the guy who's calling Ted Cruz liar, liar, liar. You're a liar. I never said any of this. This is his MO. This is what he does. Anytime you question his record, he calls you a liar. So Donald Trump himself is actually a liar. And there are several instances that we can show this. Number one, his Libya position initially in 2011. We're going to get into that. But let's first look at this claim that he says that he's self-funded. He's self-funded. Well, according to Politico.com, this is an article written by Ben Scheckinger, I guess, on 10/15/15. This is talking about how much Donald Trump has received. He said the majority of his campaign funding comes from donors. This quarter, the campaign, this is back then, campaign received $73,943 in unsolicited donations, totaling about $3.7 million. And also, just keep in mind, Donald Trump has a big, it's huge, it's enormous, it's a big donate button on his page. So if he's self-funding, meaning the money is coming from himself, would that still be considered self-funding if he's receiving millions and millions of dollars from somebody else, from other people? Does this matter? Now, this is a repeated thing that he says over and over and over again. He's self-funding. It's simply not true. Now, Donald Trump is lying about self-funding, and I don't have any issue with you receiving money. In fact, I'm probably the minority out of this audience. I'm guessing. I know that a lot of libertarians and a lot of Republicans and even Democrats, it seems like it's the most controversial issue in politics today. It's so controversial to have the position that I have, I guess. I don't know. Everybody I've ever talked to seems to disagree with me on this, but I don't see a way around it. Money in politics is not controversial. Money in politics is a liberty answer. But more importantly, money in politics is there because of a government problem. And let's backpedal on this and go back to the money in politics thing. Let's root cause this. I've talked about this before. Again, the reason why big corporations and people who are rich and powerful give money to these government officials is because the power to manipulate the free market, the power that these politicians will have or do have while they're in office, it gives them the ability to give special favors, subsidies, manipulate the free market by all these special favors, picking winners and losers, all of these things. That power in and of itself is the draw, the reason why money is coming in. So it's the root cause. I always talk about root causes. If we actually want to address political corruption, again, the idea here is that, money in politics creates political corruptions from politicians. So in order to fix this issue, we're going to have to restrict your freedom of expression, your ability to use your private property to push forth your ideology, to collectively work with other people to pull your resource to push your ideology, to express your political viewpoints. So because we're worried about government officials being corrupt bastards, we're going to restrict your right to do all of these things. A right, by the way, that is constitutionally protected in the First Amendment. So this is again, the problem is government corruption, and the answer is to come after the rights of the people. Does that make any damn sense at all to you? It sure doesn't to me. So if you want to actually address government corruption, how about we remove the power that is allowing these people to have such an impact on our lives, to pick winners and losers, to mess around in the free market, to give special favors, subsidies, tax breaks, all of these things. Let's get rid of that power from the government and make it so they can't do any of those things. Make it a real free market. Then these corporations aren't going to really have that much of an issue with buying lobbyists, because they're not going to see a point. Why bother hiring a lobbyist to try to sway some politician who can't do anything for them? Again, money in politics is not the issue. It's political corruption. That is the issue. Political power, that's the issue. Certainly not money. But as far as Donald Trump accepts millions and millions of dollars from people while simultaneously claiming that he is self-funded. Again, does it matter? Does it matter to you if he's a liar? So, Donald Trump, he lied about health care. And I have a clip here. He's in the last debate, Ted Cruz backed him in a corner and he lied. All he did was just lie about it. So here we go. Here's Donald Trump lying to Ted Cruz.
Donald, true or false, you've said the government should pay for everyone's health care.
That's false.
You've never said that.
Everybody's got to be covered.
Universal health care.
I'm going to take care of everybody.
Who pays for it?
The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side.
Donald, true or false, you've said the government should pay for everyone's health care.
That's false. The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side.
So, again, that's a lie. It is a straight-up lie. And then he further went on. Ted Cruz asked him if he had ever said on the stage that single-payer works well in places like Scotland. Works well in, I believe it was Canada and Scotland, if I'm remembering that correctly. And he says, no, I've never said that before. This is what Donald Trump says. Nope, never said that. Although he did say that. Donald Trump said on the stage that he thinks that single-payer works well in other countries. So, again, the idea of single-payer health care is that the government is basically the doler. It issues out the health care to everyone. And this is what Donald Trump believes. So, ultimately, number one, liar. He has lied. He has lied on multiple occasions. He has lied repeatedly. He has lied pathologically. The man lies every time he speaks. He is equal to, if not worse, than President Obama, who every time he opens his mouth, he lies. Doesn't matter. And ultimately here, let's also point out healthcare, Obamacare. Donald Trump says he's going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Why even bother? Why bother repealing and replacing Obamacare if you're just going to replace it with single payer? That's exactly what he said. He said, I'm going to cut a deal with existing hospitals. The government's going to pay for it. He's going to take care. Again, Donald Trump has said that Republicans have backed ourselves into this horrible position to where we're basically heartless bastards, where we're allowing people to die in the streets because they can't get health care, even though existing law says that hospitals have to treat people who come into their facility. They have to, even if they don't have insurance and they can't pay for it. They have to. So where are people dying in the street? It's just simply not happening. It wasn't happening before. And Donald Trump says, "Oh no, we're going to make so much money on the back end." on the back end, how? How are we going to do that, Donald? He doesn't know. He hasn't told us. Again, he can't explain it because it's not true. The numbers, the math does not compute. Sorry, Donald. But more importantly is the principles, the ideology here. This is a progressive ideology. Again, does it matter if Donald Trump is a progressive? Are you a progressive? I know most of you out there, you're listening to me, you aren't progressives. I know most of you aren't probably Donald Trump supporters. And like I said, MacPack, you are the tip of the spear. I know. I don't. Mostly this show, and I'm sorry to bash you over the head with this. You're getting Trump trauma from this, and I apologize. But I feel that this is so important. I'm devoting most of the show to this today because I feel like I have to shake people by the shoulders and wake up, stop, you're falling for this. Stop falling for the lines and the rhetoric. First of all, why do people support Donald Trump? It's the anger, and I get it. I'm angry too. Believe me, I'm angry. Look, the establishment has been telling us over and over, we can't fight Obama. We can't do it. We need both houses of Congress before we can do anything. We can't do anything at all. They're just going to keep slamming us, and we can't shut down the government because if we shut down the government, we'll lose elections. Even though after Ted Cruz forced Harry Reid to shut down the government because Harry Reid would not fund the government piecemeal. Again, that was Harry Reid's government shutdown, not Ted Cruz's. But Harry Reid shuts down the government, and the Republicans are blamed. Ted Cruz is demonized. Again, he stood up against his own party. He was the only one up there practically that was standing against his own party. There was a select few that were actually fighting against the establishment, but Ted Cruz took the brunt of the blame on this. And look what happened. Immediately following that, we win. Republicans win both sides, win both houses of Congress. So everything the establishment said has been BS. They said, "Oh, you can't shut down the government. We'll lose elections." Although historically speaking, every time we shut down the government, we win elections. I don't have any problem with the government being shut down personally. At least I know they're not screwing us that day. But the establishment, they say, we got to make deals, we just got to get things done. Because, again, ideologically, they are wishy-washy, they're squishy. They have no ideological base. They're not based upon constitutional principles. They're based upon political power. Ultimately, all they want to do is get re-elected. And they think they can do that by just flying underneath the radar, because incumbents get re-elected very easily. This is the whole game. This is the sham that they got going here. So yeah, I get it. Donald Trump supporters, I get why you're pissed. I'm pissed too. We keep being told, you know, we'll just do this little what little we can and keep fighting, but we just can't shut down the government. We have to fund the government. So then they pass $1 trillion plus omnibus bill, which funds, by the way, Planned Parenthood after the whole Planned Parenthood scandal. All right, Planned Parenthood is selling baby parts, human being body parts. I mean, this is despicable. I mean, and this already, you know, we already know that the people who tried to out Planned Parenthood for this, they're being indicted now. The world is upside down, gang. The world is upside down. The Republican Congress funded Planned Parenthood. Look, by the way, Donald Trump says Planned Parenthood doing a lot of great things. We should continue funding them. We should, not for the abortions. They need to stop the abortions. But yeah, they're doing a lot of great things for women's health, even though they don't. They actually have to outsource those things. They just refer people to those things. And yeah, so regardless, they also provide abortions. And look, I don't care what your position is on abortions. In fact, you probably don't care what mine is, all right? But the whole idea here that somebody is being forced through taxes to pay the government, who will then take that money and pay Planned Parenthood to provide abortions, is sickening. It's sickening for a lot of reasons, but primarily, if they have a fundamental issue against that, how is that just? How is that moral? I have a fundamental problem with this, and we can't even win that with both houses of Congress. We can't even win that. The Democrats can shove Obamacare down our throat, and we're choking on it still to this day. Our economy is choking to death, and they just keep tacking on things to make it worse and worse. We got government regulation holding us down like an albatross around our neck. We have the economy in its death throes right now. We got job losses. The EPA regulating the crap out of us, 70,000 pages of tax codes that provide loopholes for the elite and the rich, but not for the middle class. All of this is on the backs of the middle class and small business. That's why I support Ted Cruz, because he's going to abolish the EPA and the IRS, give us a flat tax. Oh my gosh, you know how much breath that would breathe into the economy now? But yeah, we can't fight. We can't fight Planned Parenthood funding. We have to fund them because America, right? Look, I get your anger, Donald Trump supporters. I get it. The only thing my point here is that Donald Trump has said that he's a deal maker. He can make deals. He said you have to make deals. He actually opposes Ted Cruz because he's so divisive. He says you can't get anything done. But look, I don't want to get anything done that these guys want to get done. I want to throw a wrench in the spokes. I want to stop this machine. I'm sick of it. Every day that Congress is in session, we're getting screwed. It's time someone stopped it. It's time we throw a wrench in there. And I understand getting angry. You have a justifiable rage right now. But we don't make good decisions when we're angry. And more importantly, why even bother voting for somebody if they just stand for the same principles? Donald Trump, this is who I'm talking about, that we're supposed to be fighting. Donald Trump is a progressive. We're going to continue to lay out the case when we come back from this break. And you guys don't want to miss the rest of this. And by the way, if you want to give us a call, the number to the show is 360-450-5625. We'll be right back.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
All right, gang, we're back. So when we last left, we were talking about Donald Trump. We were talking about why he's a progressive. We covered quite a bit of things already, but let's go ahead and get right back into it here. Donald Trump supports a wealth tax. And let's just mention here, what is a wealth tax? I mean, this is something that needs to be addressed. It's a tax on your wealth, not your income, your wealth. And this is one thing that's important to note here, okay? You would think that and by the way, he supported a one-time wealth tax. We'll get into all of this in a moment here. But it's important to note that an income tax, most of these CEOs, these bigwigs, these fat cat bankers, all of these people, they don't really take incomes. They don't have like a W-2. So they have, it's basically tax loopholes that they're not really taking a salary, but they're getting they still have a lavish lifestyle nonetheless. So, you know, corporate spending cards and all of these kind of things. So they're actually not going to be subjected to taxes. Again, this is how the system is gamed. This is why, you know, the rich don't give a crap if you increase taxes. You know, they don't care because they know that they'll find a loophole out of paying taxes. That's why when Bernie Sanders and the socialists and, like, you know, even Hillary Clinton, you know, say that we're gonna you know, go after the 1%. And we're gonna use the 1%. If we tax the crap out of the 1%, it'll pay for all this free crap for everybody else. Simply not the case. What will happen is the 1% will find a way to get out of it, and then all of this, every last bit of it, will fall on the backs of the middle class. This is exactly what they want. They're slamming the door behind them. They've made it successful. And in those kind of circumstances, in these instances, the only way for you to become successful is to innovate to such an extreme level, kind of like a Mark Zuckerberg level, where you've innovated and you've done something so quickly that the government couldn't catch up with you to stifle you, and then you're able to break through those barriers. But it's practically impossible, nonetheless. You know, it will be practically impossible for you to have real wealth in those situations, at least by being a law-abiding citizen, by being a lawful citizen. we'll have a bunch of rich criminals, because criminals will find a way to make money. They'll find a way to have criminal enterprises, and none of that will be taxed. And then many people will end up working underneath the table because of the Laffer curve. They'll just decide that, you know what, I'm not going to pay taxes. Screw that, because if you want to take 90% of my income, what's the freaking point of me working? So they may end up getting on the government dole, saying, oh, you know what, it's easier for me to just not work, and if I don't work, I'll actually end up making the same or close to the same amount of money as I made by working. So what's the point? And then if they decide that they need some more money and they want a more comfortable lifestyle, they'll have to do so underneath the table or illicitly. So, and this is what we see. We have an institutionalized slavery happening. Democrats, they are the party of slavery, FYI, gang, and they're still doing it to this day. The Democrats, they initially were the ones who, were you talking about the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats who were for slavery? They owned slaves. They fought to keep slavery. They were on the side of the South in the Civil War fighting for slavery. Yeah, states' rights, but slavery. That's what it was about. They wanted to have slaves, and they didn't want anyone telling them that they couldn't. So, again, as far as the Democrat Party, this has been the party of racial bigotry. It's been the party of slavery. So, what did they go and do after they lost the Civil War? Well, then they used the Democrat sheriffs in the South to oppress African Americans in the South. They passed Jim Crow laws. And those are the ones, the Democrat sheriffs are the ones beating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his freedom walkers with batons, spraying them with water hoses, attacking them with dogs. All of these things, I've said this before, those were Democrats. They're doing it again, gang. What they have managed to do now is institutionally enslave people who are dependent on the government, and that happens to be a majority of minorities that are enslaved in this way. I know this sounds controversial, but look, if you have to give your vote to somebody in order to continue your livelihood, which is provided mostly by the government, and you can't even get a promotion because if you do, you end up ultimately making less money because it'll end up cutting your government benefits. You'll end up making less money overall. You've become a slave. You are a slave to the government. They have recreated the system. Instead of a physical enslavement, it's an economical enslavement. So, Donald Trump. Let's go back to Donald Trump. He supports the wealth tax, and the wealth tax is pulling the money out of your bank account. This is double dipping. This is money you've already paid taxes for. He supported a one-time, this is what he said, one-time wealth tax. And he's asked about this. Now, mind you, his support for that was in 2000, okay? 16 years ago. I've had Donald Trump supporters say, hey, Mac, what? You haven't changed your mind one time in 16 years? First of all, let me clarify. Yes, I have. I have changed my mind. I've changed quite a bit in 16 years because I was, 14 years old? Then, yeah, of course I've changed my mind. So, I continue to change my mind. But the problem is, first of all, I am not running for presidential office. All right? I'm not trying to get you to believe why. And also, I can explain to you the pivot point. I can tell you why I did it. Ideologically speaking, what shifted, and explain to you how, what, all of my thinking. I can give you my policy issues, the where I stand on these issues. Donald Trump can tell you he can make America great again, and he's going to build a wall. Again, I understand your anger. I get it. But he's not the guy. He's not the guy. We got some activity on Twitter. I just want to read one of our listeners here. Ken on Twitter says, Mac, I'm also for Ted. When he ran for Senate, he answered some of my questions and has done or tried what he said he did. So he goes on to say that Trump is a huckster and, yes, a progressive / communist. Well, look, I'm not going as far as calling him a communist. I think ultimately progressive policies, socialist policies, which is they're essentially the same. Progressive and socialist, it's the next step. It's the step right before communism. And again, if we look at Cuba, Castro said that he wasn't a communist. He said, no, I'm not a communist. I'm not a communist. They claimed that they were going to be socialists and that it was all about helping the people, helping the middle class. This is what it was supposed to be. Government giving out all of these things. Government pays for everything. Government nationalizes stuff. Government owns everything. Then it starts doling things out equally. This is how that kind of society was. This is what Castro said he was going to do, but then he turned communist, and he admits it now. It's a communist nation. So, look, back to the wealth tax. Sorry, I got off the rails there. Let's hear Donald Trump supporting his past here for the wealth tax. Oh, actually, before I do, I forgot to give you the second point here. People say I've never changed my mind. Look, Donald Trump hasn't actually changed his mind, and you'll hear the clip. Here it goes.
There's another issue that you proposed in 2000, talking about trying to address and tackle the national debt, which was lower then than it is now, much higher now. You proposed a one-time 14.25% tax on the rich, people who have more than $10 million to pay.
Okay, one-time wealth tax. So keep that in mind. And this was his opinion in 2000. This interview, Jake Tapper, by the way, he's the one doing the interviewing. This is done in August of 2015. So we're not talking about way back, all right? We're talking about recent interviews here. This is recent opinion. So here we go.
Pay off the debt. Do you still support that?
Now we can't do that because the debt.
Now we can't do that. So one more time. Let's go ahead and hear that one.
Do you still support that?
Now we can't do that because the debt is so big. That would have knocked out the debt. What I would have paid it, I'll tell you this.
Okay, but it still would take a huge chunk out of it.
It would have taken 14%, and we have no debt. I'd do that all day long. I would do.
Okay. So again, it's not ideological that his opposition. It's not the reason for his support for for his change of mind of the wealth tax is not because he is a conservative and he has ideological principles. He's not against redistribution of wealth. And he's just saying that it won't work now. That's the only reason why he doesn't support it. Again, you don't believe me. You hear his own words. Again, he's not saying that he wouldn't do it now because he's had a change of heart. He suddenly decided that this kind of progressive policy is a bad thing all of a sudden. No, he's actually saying that he would still do that, but it won't work.
Off the debt. Do you still support that?
Now we can't do that because the debt is so big. That would have knocked out the debt. What I would have paid it, I'll tell you this.
Okay, but it still would take a huge chunk out of it.
It would have taken 14%, and we have no debt. I'd do that all day long. I would do that.
He would do that all day long. Are you a progressive? Donald Trump is. This is a progressive policy. There is absolutely no doubt about it. This is a progressive policy. Now, let me ask you, I know if you're listening to this show, you probably like guns. You probably are a big fan of guns. Is it a deal breaker for you if somebody is talking, like a candidate is talking about banning guns, things along those lines? Is that a deal breaker? Do you think it's a progressive policy for gun control? First of all, you guys know where I stand. I don't believe in any infringements on firearms whatsoever at all. No background checks, no nothing. I don't support this stuff. I think it is, first of all, this crap doesn't work, and it makes us compromise and just get one step closer to the total confiscation. It'll start with registration, total registration, then confiscation that the left wants. I'm not compromising with these people. The gun control does not work. It does not work at all. All it does is take guns out of the hand of citizens, of law-abiding citizens. And most of you would probably agree with that, I would imagine. Maybe I'm going to the extremes on this, but I'm not for it at all. Now, it's a progressive. Again, the definition of progressive is in the name. It's to slowly chip away at your rights, slowly move forward towards socialism. So, because again, socialism is unpalatable. People don't want it. When you describe it to people, people don't want it. So you have to get there slowly. That's what the Progressive Party is about, the progressive ideology. So, again, are you a progressive? Doesn't matter if Donald Trump is a progressive. Is it a deal breaker for you if Donald Trump supports gun control? I want to know. Number to show is 360-450-5625. Donald Trump is for an assault weapon ban, waiting periods, and extended background checks. So he said, I generally impose gun control. Okay, generally oppose gun control. And here comes the but. But I support the ban on assault weapons, and I support a slightly longer waiting period to purchase a gun. With today's internet technology, we should be able to tell within 72 hours if a potential gun owner has a record. This is Donald Trump's own words. Supports an assault weapon ban, slightly longer waiting periods. Look, I can't do it. I just cannot pull the lever for this guy. This is a progressive policy. Now, you can say, he said that back in 2000. Look, I don't care when you said it. I can't pull the... If you said this at any point, unless you can explain the pivot point, and Donald Trump can't. Donald Trump cannot tell you why he suddenly changed his mind, other than when he decided to run for office. Again, I'm not... this happened 16 years ago. I agree. This was his policy then. Now he won't tell us what he actually wants to do with guns. He's not going to say he wants to get rid of background checks. He just says, "Yeah, I support the Second Amendment. I got a concealed carry permit. It's hard to do in New York." This is what he says. But again, we know that he has in the past supported a ban on assault weapons and longer waiting periods and background checks. I don't want to support him. I'm not. These kind of policies are deal breakers for me. The Constitution, excuse me, the Constitution is a deal breaker for me. If you will not follow the Constitution, this is the simplest thing in the world. Shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. What don't you get about that, Donald? And again, it's not because he's confused. It's because he has a political ideology. And Donald Trump says he says he can be whoever he wants to be. He can have whatever position he needs. He can change. And again, one thing I just heard him say the other day on Sean Hannity, he's talking about how he was going to make a deal with between Israel and Palestine. All right, and that how bad the deal was with Iran, and that one of the aspects of the Iranian deal is that the Iran nuclear deal is that if Israel attacks Iran, we have to defend Iran. And he said, look, deals are made to be broken. So, again, he's making a deal. He's making a compact with you when you vote for him. And he's telling you everything that he says, and then he's also changed his positions. But he won't give you the pivot point. He won't tell you what happened. He won't tell you why or ideologically why. He never hardly at all mentions the Constitution whatsoever. He calls himself a common sense conservative, which is something that should be a big red flag to you all. Are you aware what the left tries to do with common sense? I don't even like saying common sense anymore because of them. I say common sense gun control, common sense gun laws, common sense gun safety. All of this common sense crap, it's not common sense at all. In fact, it actively violates the Constitution. Again, he's a common sense conservative. Big red flag. You should be aware of this. He's for assault weapon bans. Oh, he's talking about how he's going to be neutral on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I know there's a big rift among my audience on this issue, but personally, and I will tell you personally, I support Israel's right to defend themselves, and I happen to think that they are the most ideologically like us in the Middle East. Now, I know a lot of people think that Israel's a big bad wolf, and they don't like them. And okay, that's up to you. And I understand your opinion on that. I'm not here to judge your opinion. All I'm telling you is that they're the most like us in the Middle East, and if we're going to have an ally in the Middle East, I think we should have them. And as far as first of all, they're a democratic society. They're not as like us. They're not quite American, but they're the closest out of everyone out there, and they don't want to kill us. That I think, again, if I want us to not be isolationist, I don't want us to stick our head in the sand, but I don't want to be interventionist either. All right, I think that if we need to reset foreign relations. There are some allies that I think are just not good allies for us to have, like, for example, Saudi Arabia. Human rights violations out the butt. They are enforcing Sharia law. They believe that it's okay to subjugate women, and that is a big problem for me. Kill homosexuals. I have an issue with Sharia law. So I do not support Saudi Arabia. I don't support Turkey. I think Turkey's up to some shady business as well. Turkey already is got an anti-American sentiment. But hey, that's just my opinion. But anyway, Donald Trump talks about Israel and the Palestinian conflict. Again, there's never been a Palestine, but he says he's going to remain neutral. Here it goes.
Presidents have attempted to establish a peace agreement between both sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and the one common theme is that they've all been unsuccessful. What specific steps would you take to establish an agreement between both sides?
Okay, I think it's probably the toughest agreement of any kind to make. It has been going on for many years. Many friends of mine have been involved. They're very, very good businessmen, very good negotiators. A lot of people say an agreement can't be made, which is okay. I mean, sometimes agreements can't be made, not good. But, you have both sides, really, but you have one side in particular growing up and learning that these are the worst people, these people are the worst people, et cetera, et cetera. It is a very...
He's talking about the Palestinians, quote unquote. Again, there has never been a place called Palestine. Never. I honestly, this is just my opinion, I honestly believe that the hate that the Palestinians are being born into, they're being told to hate the Israelis. And again, in my opinion, if Israel decided that they would not fight anymore, they would throw down their arms, the Palestinians or the Arab nations around them would all kill them. They would all be, there would be no more Israel. If the Arabs threw down their guns, that wouldn't be the case. I honestly, that's just my opinion, and I see the culture of hate that's built into this Sharia law it's not Muslims, it's Islam. It's this core tenet, and it's very, very anti-Semitic. So, again, if we're going to pick sides, now, I understand the desire to be neutral. I get it. You don't want to get involved. But if Israel is an ally, which they are, and I think they should be, I think we should be allied with them. I don't believe in being neutral against evil. To stay silent against evil is itself evil, as Dietrich Bonhoeffer said. So, I don't have any problem supporting Israel. And, granted, I don't necessarily want to give them a bunch of money. I think we have enough issues going on here. We're way too far in debt. But, if they get attacked and they need our support, I have no problem with that. Right now, one of the things I just don't trust this current regime, this government. A lot of the stuff is really shady, and I don't want to go fighting for anybody right now who won't fight for us. That's the most important thing. I don't want to be an ally to somebody who will not fight for us. And I think we should be very careful in getting in a quagmire. I am typically very, very anti-war. So anyway, Donald Trump continues.
Very, very tough agreement to make. I was with a very prominent Israeli the other day. Says it's impossible because the other side has been trained from the time they're children to hate Jewish people. But I will give it one hell of a shot, that I can tell you. But of all agreements, I always said, if you can do that deal, you can do any deal. But that's probably the toughest deal in the world right now to make. And it's possible it's not makeable because, don't forget, it has to last. It's wonderful to make it and it doesn't work. But it has to last. To make lasting peace there, probably the toughest deal of all, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Whose fault do you think it is that hasn't been peace?
I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it for a different reason, Joe, because if I do win, there has to be a certain amount of surprise, unpredictability. Our country has no unpredictability. If I win, I don't want to be in a position where I'm saying to you and the other side now say, we don't want Trump involved. We don't want. Let me be sort of a neutral guy. Let's see what I'm going to give it a shot. It would be so great. I would be so proud if I could do that. I don't know if it's doable. I have friends of mine that are tremendous.
Yep. All right. So, he said he's going to remain neutral. He's going to be a neutral guy. Let me be a neutral guy. So, look, all I'm saying is that it is not a situation that I would personally be neutral in. Again, I happen to like Israel. I support Israel, but again, as far as any kind of war type scenario, I'm just very hesitant because I do not trust this government. I feel like most of this stuff is about the petrodollar, money, oil, and again, we don't need to be in the Middle East. We have trillions of barrels of oil here that we found. All right, we have enough natural gas reserves here. And the big issue, the big reason why we don't want to be in the we want to be in the Middle East, we don't want to leave, is because we're concerned about giving Russia access to these oil reserves, and Russia basically holding them over our allies' head, holding them over Europe's head, and basically threatening to cut off this oil reserves if they don't do as they say. But hey, we got a caller on the line. Hey, caller, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Mark, I'm Jim from Minnesota.
Oh, hey, Jim. What's on your mind?
Well, I was hearing you as far as what you were talking about Trump, and I've been trying to wake people up on my Facebook page and talk to people. And it's surprising, people that I thought were real Tea Party conservatives. In fact, one guy, he was diehard conservative, but now he says, I'm a capitalist. I was going, whoa, and he's just, in the tank for Trump, just big time. And I'm trying to, and one guy tonight, believe it or not, that I thought was a conservative, he told me, he just said to me, kind of threatened me, so I said, hey, you proceed on with this, you're no longer my friend. And sure enough, a few minutes later, I kept on and said, hey, I'm about the truth. As far as I'm not, I'm not a hater, so I'm just trying to point out some of the things. Like, I don't know if you heard today, he was actually quoting Mussolini and tweeting it out to his his followers.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
That's disturbing.
Yeah.
That is disturbing.
So we got Mark on Twitter. He's telling us that Trump's response to the David Duke KKK endorsement, apparently Donald Trump has talked about that. I'll go ahead and let's play that clip here, and I'll get right back to you, okay? Donald Trump's talking about the KKK endorsement from Donald Trump. Here we go.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
But I guess the question from the Anti-Defamation League is, even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say unequivocally you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group that I know nothing about. I'd have to look. If you would send me a list of the groups, I will do research on them, and certainly I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong. But you may have groups in there that are totally fine, and it would be very unfair. So give me a list of the groups, and I'll let you know.
Okay. I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
Wow. Okay, so, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's just wild as far as, he doesn't know about David Duke. I mean, come on. Everybody knows that guy's a racist and a white supremacist. And that's the kind of people that we shouldn't support. Just like, I don't know if you heard, too, Snoop Dogg came out and supporting Donald Trump. And, I can't even repeat the quote that he had about it because it's X-rated.
Really?
I mean, every other word is F, and like I said, I don't talk like that being a Christian conservative and a veteran.
Yeah. So,
and like I said,
I understand there's a lot of frustration, and I get it. But this is not the guy. This is just not the guy.
Oh, yeah.
He has no scruples. He has no ideological foundation, and it does concern me. Hey, would you mind sticking with me through the break?
Sure.
We're gonna cut to a commercial break. So when we come back, and by the way, if you're listening on the 405 Media, I would appreciate if you guys would follow us for the second hour of the program over at OnTheMoveShow.com or at Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. We're gonna go ahead and cut to the commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna dive more into these featured topics. So you don't want to go anywhere, gang. We'll be right back.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore. with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
All right, gang, we're back. Appreciate you guys sticking with us to the break. You are now in the second hour of our program, so thanks so much for sticking with us. First of all, I want to get back to this caller that we have here on the line. Hey, caller, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. What was that again?
Jim from Minnesota.
Jim, all righty. All right, Jim. So let me ask you here.
Sure.
As far as your take on this and the people that you have seen from the Trump support party, essentially, people who are supporting Trump, what's the vibe that you're getting from these guys?
Well, he's a divider. I mean, he's an opportunist. He's taking advantage of the anger that people have about the government failing. He's a nationalist, which really disturbs me because, I love our country. I served it for 20 years of my life, like my father and grandfather before me. But, as far as nationalism, like happened in Nazi Germany, I'm not saying he's a Nazi or anything like that. I'm just saying, it happened, bad things happen under nationalism. As far as, they had, of course, the Jews were used as scapegoats. Now we're using the Muslims, and I'm not saying that I like the Muslims at all, as far as, especially, ISIS and the other groups that are killing Christians. Yeah, I have a real problem with Muslims. But like at the same time, he's using a group, as far as to stir up people's anger, and of course also using as far as the fact that our government has failed us. They're not representing us, even though, like I said, they've got the House and the Senate, and they're not standing up for us. And unfortunately, they're lining their own pockets. And yeah, that disturbs me. I mean, a lot of what Trump says, I really like. But I want somebody with a conservative track record that stood up for constitutional rights like Ted Cruz. I mean, he's gone, as the Attorney General of Texas, he went to the Supreme Court so many times to defend our constitutional rights, and he's been doing the same thing as far as in the in the Senate. And yeah, I mean, Trump was giving him a hard time. Well, people don't like you in the Senate. Well, that's fine with me because, hey, I didn't send people, I don't send people to there to get along. I send them to fight for my constitutional rights. And if that makes him alienated, that's fine with me. He's gone to do something that I want him to do.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that is exactly how I feel. It's first of all, let's go back to this Donald Trump not basically denouncing the endorsement from the KKK. That it's. I'm just blown away. He says, I don't know what group this is. It's, they're part of the Ku Klux Klan. He's like, oh, I'd have to find out which group it is within the Ku Klux Klan. What group within the Ku Klux Klan would be okay? What KKK group is okay to receive an endorsement from? David Duke. By the way, Donald Trump has actually denounced David Duke's endorsement before. I've seen him actually denounce it, but it's just interesting that he's over here talking about how he, because if you're denouncing an endorsement, you're basically gonna get that person pretty angry. So I'm sure he doesn't want to get people angry and lose voters, but it seems pretty clear that the guy who's interviewing told him several times of the KKK. He's like, look, I don't know. It's just very upsetting to me. And one of the things, my experience here of dealing with Trump voters, I respect a lot of the people I've spoken with. You know, I respect their opinions. I respect the fact that they have, you know, a different opinion than me. I like diversity of thought. So, and personally, I don't like talking to yes men. So, the main thing that I see is a justifiable anger, but some of it is twisted up in hate. And this is one of the things that I just had a conversation with a Trump voter the other day, and it disturbed me pretty bad. They were talking about the Japanese internment camps from World War II, and how, first of all, they weren't concentration camps, so they weren't that bad, and that we should bring those kind of things back for illegal immigrants and Muslims in the country. And it just, you know, I really was shocked. I said, well, okay, I get why you're a Donald Trump supporter then. I understand. You're not anchored in any kind of ideological value. It's just whatever feels good. Right. You know, it's mob rule, or it'll be Donald Trump's oligarchical rule. So it's really concerning to me. I look at him like a Vladimir Putin style guy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I know. As far as, like I said, I had one good friend of mine, on the other side of the state of Minnesota toward South Dakota, and I thought she was a real Tea Party conservative. In fact, I think her daughter went to the Naval Academy. But anyway, I was talking to her, and, you know, as far as her anger was just, you could tell she was just beaming, or just brimming over. And I was talking to her about it. I said, you know, as far as, she was actually saying she wants Trump to get in power and act like Obama, as far as just do executive orders and get the things taken care of in the United States. I'm just saying, what? You're saying just disregard the Constitution and just, you know, charge forward and do the same thing Obama did? Yep, that's what you need to do. I'm going, oh my God.
You know,
I was just really taken back.
I get the same way when I'm talking to some of these guys. You know, and for me, I think it's important to be ideologically consistent. You know, and one of the things that you hear people talking about with Ted Cruz is, this is coming from Trump and Trump supporters, is that he's too divisive. He can't get things done. Well, he could actually get a lot of stuff done. First of all, having the bully pulpit, you have a lot of power, and he would essentially dismantle the establishment, the current regime of incumbents that are trying to protect their own power by not saying or doing anything. He could dismantle this. But primarily, one of the big issues that we have in this country is unconstitutional executive orders. Ted Cruz has promised to get rid of these unconstitutional presidential executive orders that Obama put through. One of the other things, obviously, you know, he's talking about going after the executive branch departments and abolishing a lot of them. These are the biggest problems in this country, I think, is the amount of regulation just choking us to death, choking this economy to death. It's making it impossible for us to do anything. We've got the EPA, the IRS. He's talking about abolishing these. I can get behind that. And you don't need Congress to do that. All that is it's an executive branch that the president runs. He could do that easily. And think of how much of stimulus that would be on our economy.
Yep. And as far as, kind of reminds me of, I listen to Chris Salcido a lot, and he was saying, that, liberals, are funny until you put them in power. And that's unfortunately what we have. We have these out-of-control liberalism. And as you know, a lot of it is because of the entitlement class, as far as they, give away so much stuff that, of course, people that, are just basically bribed by it are, voting for these people. And, of course, as you know, once they get into power, the power of incumbency, it's almost impossible to get thrown out of office.
Yeah.
Because,
Unless the way they look at it, though, is if they stir up too much dust, they're going to get noticed and people will kick them out of office. That's essentially why they don't want to fight. They don't want to stand up for the principles, the reasons why we got them elected. They go along to get along and use the power of the incumbency to protect their power. This is what the establishment is out there, gang. This is what we've been fighting against. This is why we're so angry, and why in the world would we turn to Donald Trump, who has said this? Let me actually pull up the article. He's talking about being a part of the establishment, essentially. Donald Trump, first of all, you guys should already know Donald Trump has said that he would make a deal with the establishment. He could make a deal. He's going to get things done. When he was asked about the establishment, he says, I think they're warming up. I want to be honest. I've received so many phone calls from people that you would call establishment, from people, generally speaking, conservatives, Republicans, that want to come on our team. So he's talking about how the establishment is warming up to him. Again, we got the clip from Donald Trump being endorsed by Harry Reid. I'm going to go ahead and play that one real quick. Harry Reid talking about how he's pulling for Donald Trump. Here's the clip.
Donald Trump identified you yesterday as the top Democrat to do business with.
What do you say?
He said you're a good guy. You're one of the Democrats he could do business with.
Well, I remember the good old days when he did a fundraiser or two for me.
Any issues that you work with?
What's that?
Have you worked with him on any particular issue?
Look, we've gotten along fine. That was before he was running for president. I'm with that bunch of people running, I'm kind of pulling for him.
So he's getting people on the left who are pulling for him. And by the way, he has donated and funded Harry Reid, done fundraisers for him. I mean, what's the difference? Why even bother voting for him? If your choice is between a progressive and a progressive, why are we even bothering here? This is supposed to be what we've been railing against this entire time, and yet we're being told that we vote for a progressive. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree as far as that, there is no difference as far as, basically, you got a choice of either, Trump in 2016 or Hillary in 2016, but you're going to get the same thing. They're both progressives, and their policies will just, kick the can down the road, and, they're not going to improve America. They might prove a couple things, just for showboating, but, we're just going to head, even a worse direction and, anti-business. While treating business like cash cows. I'm a retired Navy veteran, but I have my own business. And this state, Minnesota, in 2013, they had all the powers for the governor, Senate, and the House of Representatives, all controlled by Democrats. And they passed one of the biggest tax, increases on the people of Minnesota, $2 billion. And, this is say, who do they go after the worst? Well, it's businesses. And a lot of businesses are moving the hell out of the state. They said, enough. I'm going to a state that I don't, you don't get taxed as far as my income, far as, like Florida or Texas. And that's what they're not thinking. So we'll just stick around and just take it. No, people are going to move on and move out.
And they're voting with their feet. And, this is what's happening here in America. This is why we can't compete. Donald Trump talks about, we're losing. We lose to China, we lose to Mexico. Well, he understands nothing about the root cause. It's because of all this regulation. It's because of all the taxes. It's because of all of these things that are stifling this economy. And first of all, he actually should understand, because you can't make anything here. Even he says this. That's why his ties are in Mexico. His clothing that his company makes is made in Mexico, and yet he's talking about China. Yeah, he's talking about slapping on tariffs to people who move out of the country. He wanted to boycott Oreo, I think Nabisco as well. Ford, all of these people, he's basically shaming them for leaving the country. Yet he is not making his own products here, and on top of that, he's the only candidate that is running that has been found guilty of hiring illegal immigrants. He's had to pay money for doing that. If you really gave a crap about the economy, you gave a crap about immigration, then you would have a record that would show. You certainly wouldn't have a record like Donald Trump's. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
So,
and of course, go ahead.
No, yeah, after you, go right.
But of course, what drives me crazy is, as far as he even admitted what, I've been trying to, I'm a veteran, I'm trying to get the other veterans groups to join me. As you know, he's admitted, on Howard Stern's show that he's a draft dodger, and he's proud of it. Wow. I mean, he came out and said that, actually, I listened to it, and of course, in his books, he rails on the fact that he was, as far as married women when he was married to his first wife. And like I said, those kind of things concern me, as because that's infidelity. And if you don't even have, as far as you're not even being faithful to the person that you're supposed to love the most in your life, how are you going to be faithful to the American people?
Yeah, bottom line, I just don't trust him. Even he says deals are made to be broken. That he just said that on Hannity the other night. So if he's not even willing to uphold deals that he's making, he claimed that he's the best deal maker there is. I don't think this guy could deal a deck of cards, honestly, but he claims to be the best deal maker that there is. Yet what does it matter to have a deal with Donald Trump if he says deals are made to be broken? You can't trust him. If you're calling it a flip-flop, I don't believe that Donald Trump flip-flops at all. I think Donald Trump is lying to people when he says he's a common sense conservative. Again, big flag word, common sense. That lets you know it's progressive oriented. It's here to make the people who are asleep just feel comfortable. Oh, it's nice and cozy. He's a common sense. Yeah, common sense is great. We should all have that. It's despicable. But one of the things I just want to point out here, gang, is that some people have mentioned to me before about why am I attacking Donald Trump? I don't. First of all, I'm not just picking on Donald Trump. I've said before, I even mentioned some of the things about Ted Cruz that I don't like his stance on Apple. He thinks that you can force Apple to create a product to unlock a phone for the FBI. We're going to get into that conversation a lot later. I have a major disagreement, but he can at least back it up with constitutional reasons. There's an ideological perspective there. But I'm not just bashing Trump. Again, I can only, out of all of the candidates, the only one that I can vote for. And again, I'm not even necessarily a supporter of Ted Cruz, but I can vote for him. If he's not in this race, I cannot vote for anyone on the GOP side. I'm certainly not going to vote for any of the progressives on the Democratic side. And the reason is because I have an ideological principle. So I'm done playing games with these establishment candidates, these people who think that you can make a deal with progressives. I'm done with it. I'm not going to play that game anymore. And I may end up having to vote third party, and that's another thing we're going to get to later. So, Jim, did you have any final thoughts before I let you take off?
No, I just, I was kind of funny today. You were talking about Second Amendment rights. And, today I was actually out shooting with some of my buddies, and it's just such a great time as far as to go out and we need to. When I was growing up, in the early 70s, I was actually part of an NAR and I would say VFW rifle team, and it was a blast. And we need to get more of the young people involved in as far as shooting, and to see there's nothing wrong with it, especially if it's done safely. And I know my son, I've been getting him into, shooting, as far as, when I was in the military, I didn't have much time to shoot. I was so busy. But now that I'm, in my own business, I can, when I want to take some time off, I take the time off. When I go out to the range, I go out to the range. But we need to get involved, our children and, as far as our families involved in that and see, what a blast it is. And, of course, also learning, how to defend yourself, to stand up for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with you. One thing on that, though, is that I am really concerned, and I absolutely agree that, it has to be something we encourage our kids to do. And I am blown away. First of all, that you went to a high school that had a shooting team. I would have absolutely loved to be a part of a shooting team, but you won't see that nowadays. It's just not something that you're going to see. And primarily, some of the things that are happening, that they're chilling this right by making it harder for people to get a gun. First of all, the background checks, the waiting period, banning certain type of guns, making the costs associated with having a gun more expensive, like the ammo tax that Seattle just recently passed. I-594 making it so that you have to have a background check to transfer possession, not ownership of a firearm. So if I hand you a gun, Jim, we need a background check. If you hand me a gun back, the same gun, we need another one. So, and if we don't, that's 2 felonies that we've just did. And background checks cost money and time, and all of these things chill the right. In addition to, Jim, if I wanted to take you to the range and teach you how to shoot, now not only do we have to submit to these things and pay for these things, which may discourage us from doing it, but this may actually discourage you from getting hands-on training from firearms, which, again, it may prevent people from new shooters from coming into this culture, this Second Amendment culture, and learning about it, which, again, it has a chill. If there's less people that are supporting this activity, there's less people that are doing it, we're going to get less of it, and it's really scary. If you're a gun owner nowadays, you have to step up and start talking to other people, teaching other people about guns. You have to.
Invite them in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one thing I was just going to say, too, is, here Minnesota, especially in northern Minnesota. And it used to be, in the days in the 70s and 60s, 50s, as far as, people, young people, as far as teens, they would actually bring their guns to school, put them in their locker because they were going to go deer hunting right afterwards.
Yeah.
It was not a big deal at all. It was like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. You can't have that now. If you even buy a Pop-Tart in a certain way that maybe could be construed to look like a gun, you'll be banned. If you got a gun on your shirt, you'll be suspended from school. These are the kind of things. They got a zero tolerance policy. If you point your finger like a gun, suddenly it's just ridiculous. How far the left has demonized firearms. But Jim, I want
a piece of soap like a gun.
Yeah, exactly. If you have anything whatsoever, it's a zero tolerance policy, and it doesn't make any sense. But Jim, I'm going to let you go. First of all, I just want to say thanks for calling in, and secondly, thanks for your service. I like to say that to all the vets. I know you guys are signing a blank check, so it does mean a lot, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thanks for your service.
Thank you very much. You have a blessed evening.
You too. Take care. All right, gang, so we're going to get into some of these other feature topics here. Actually, we're not quite done with all of the Donald Trump stuff that we have. Donald Trump, he's admitted to bribing politicians. So, again, are you a progressive? Does it matter if he is? Does it matter if he's a liar? Does it matter if he's part of the problem? A lot of these people out there talk about money in politics. Oh, I hate these lobbyists, blah, 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 blah. Again, this is the things I was talking. I don't have a problem with lobbyists. I don't have a problem with money in politics. But I do have a problem with politicians getting money to give special favors. And again, I think the issue is the power. Obviously, I think if somebody's caught being bribed, they should go to jail, and the person doing the bribing should go to jail. Donald Trump admits to bribing politicians. Here he is, his own words.
You've also donated to several Democratic candidates, Hillary Clinton included, Nancy Pelosi. You explained away those donations, saying you did that to get business-related favors. And you said recently, quote, "When you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to do."
You better believe it.
So what specifically did they do?
If I ask them, if I need them, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand. A lot of money.
Not me.
So he has admitted. I don't know how this guy doesn't get in cuffs. How is this guy not arrested? He's admitted on national television to bribing politicians. Let's go into some of these donations. We can find out who he's paid and practically how much he's paid them, how much amount.
Donald Trump has been bragging about how much money he donates to politicians, but now his rivals are using that against him.
He's already hedging his bets because he's used to buying politicians.
Well, I've given him plenty of money. Most of the people on the stage I've given to, just so you understand.
Look, one thing I just want to say, isn't this kind of weird? I knew somebody in my life who would do things for you, and then he would hold it over your head. Now, he would do things for you, and you wouldn't even ask him to do things for you, and he would hold those things over your head and make you feel bad because he did something for you. This reminds me, this is kind of Donald Trump's style. Donald Trump will donate to a politician and then shame them for receiving his money.
A lot of money.
Not me. Not me.
So has he really donated to almost everyone on the debate stage? Tom Foreman is out front with tonight's Money and Power. So, Tom, you have looked into this. What's the truth?
Well, the truth is Trump is doing a kind of a money-shaming thing. He gives these people his money, and then when they come after him, they say, hey, hold on, you got a pocket full of Donald's dollars here. Look at the stage last night, and we can look at some of the numbers here. Yeah, he gave Scott Walker $10,000 to help with his re-election bid last year. Cruz got $5,000. Christie got about $250,000 to a Republican governor's group that he was the head of at the time, so it wasn't right to Christie. $2,500 to Huckabee, and some years ago Jeb Bush got $500, and earlier on in the happy hour debate, Graham got $15,000 for his re-election campaign with his PAC some time ago. So you can have a lot of happy hour fun with that, Kate.
What you're saying, so Tom, you would run a very good happy hour if that was what you're throwing around. Trump hasn't always been a Republican, so I guess it should not be a surprise to anybody. His donations have also drifted between parties.
Yeah, he initially, for a long time, he gave more to Democrats than to Republicans. Over the years, he had added up money to Hillary Clinton and Harry Reid and Charles Rangel and to John Kerry and the like.
Hillary Clinton Harry Reid, John Kerry. Those names ring any bells? So he's donated to his own competition $584,000.
Almost to $600,000 worth. Then in 2011, he shifted more money over to the Republican side. They caught up and then surpassed that number with donations over the years, people like Bob Dole and Phil Gramm and John McCain and Rudy Giuliani, so close to $1 million there. But nonetheless, that's a lot of money.
His money to the Republican side is to the crappiest guys we got in the game here. Bob Dole, John McCain, Rudy Giuliani. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people out there like Rudy Giuliani, but I believe he's a progressive as well. So the money that he's given to the Republican side, still he's giving to campaigns of progressive people who I don't support. It's just unbelievable how much money this guy has forked over to people to get favors. So let's listen to Donald Trump. I got another clip here about his donations to top Democrats and Hillary Clinton.
I was surprised to read that Hillary actually went to your wedding.
She did.
She went to your wedding, and I know you've contributed to her campaigns in the past. You've said that her husband is the best post-Reagan president.
Well, I can't go with Bush. And Senior Bush I really liked, but read my lips, I couldn't stand it.
Are you still in touch with the Clintons?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all, actually, no.
Are you worried at all that somebody who has given money to Hillary, she was at your wedding?
No, I give money to everybody.
But that Republican voters in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina might be concerned about that?
No, in fact, a lot of people like it. You know, we have gridlock in Washington. For instance, I've helped Nancy Pelosi, I've helped Reid, I'm a business.
Right, you gave money to Reid and Pelosi to help recapture Congress in 2006.
I'm a business. You know, I was in business. I built a great company.
Okay, so look, first of all, he said Clinton was the best post-Reagan president. I mean, he's kind of right as far as them all sucking, but I definitely would not call Clinton the best of anything. I guess out of that, George Bush, but geez, I mean, we're talking some slim pickings there. Wow, yeah. Post-Reagan though, I don't know. They're all pretty crappy, but that's just me. I don't have any issue with giving you guys my opinion on even Republicans that I don't like. Both Bushes, I've never been a fan of them. I think they're both progressives. Again, I don't think that we should have been in Iraq. Although, you know, what I will say is that I don't know if George W. Bush was intentionally, as Donald Trump says, you know, that Bush lied, people died, that kind of thing. I don't necessarily think that. I don't blame George W. Bush for dishonesty in that. I honestly don't think that we cared about the WMDs. I know that Saddam did not let UN weapon inspectors into Iraq. I don't think that's what it was about. Again, it was because Saddam went off of the petrodollar, and we went into there for the petrodollar. We wanted to make sure that they were selling their oil in U.S. dollars instead of the euro as they switched, because they switched from the U.S. dollar to the euro in 2000, and then suddenly we get attacked and we go invade them. So, but I don't like any of those presidents. Since Reagan, it's been so long since we've had an ideological president from the right. We've had all these establishment candidates. It's just been wishy-washy, squishy candidates on ideological issues, and frankly, I'm tired of it. But Donald Trump, he continues talking about his past donations to top Democrats.
They always treated me nicely. We need that in Washington. We have total gridlock.
So you will argue to voters, yes, I gave money to Reid and Pelosi to help recapture Congress, but this is what we need, more bipartisan spirit.
I'm a conservative Republican. I'm a very conservative person, actually. But I get along with everybody.
So his main complaint here is that, you know, Congress is gridlocked, and, you know, he wanted to get them into office, I'm guessing, these Democrats, to get things done. Again, this is a fundamental difference between Donald Trump and conservatives. It's not about just getting things done. Donald Trump claims to be a conservative here. He's not. it's not about just getting things done. What are you getting done? Again, you're making America great again. This is no different than Obama's hope and change. Change to what? What do you consider great, Donald? What's great? What would be your version, your vision of America? Well, he can't articulate it. He has no ability to actually orat what he wants for America. But I'm telling you, it's not going to be good. We're at a dangerous crossroads right here, gang. We have the economic collapse that's looming overhead, our economy continue to show indicators that we're on the brink of collapse. Again, I think we're headed to a global economic collapse. Talking about a global Great Depression. This is going to completely change the game. We have the priming for severe civil unrest, and the country is divided and angry. And we're going to have Donald Trump as the next president? It's not the answer. He's a strong man, no different than Nixon was, by the way. And when we come back from this break, I'm going to play you guys a clip and give you an idea of what kind of person Nixon was, what kind of president Nixon was. I think we're in a combination of a crossroads between the 1960s and, I don't know, the 1930s. I think we're at a pretty critical time. So anyway, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
All right, gang, we're back. So when we last left, we were talking about Donald Trump. So far, we've covered his take on supporting a wealth tax. He's supported gun control in the form of extended background checks, longer waiting periods, and assault weapon bans. He's lied about funding his own campaign. He has said he'd remain neutral in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He has bragged about bribing politicians, shamed politicians for taking his money. He said politicians, when you give them money, they'll do whatever the hell you want them to do. And he said he got business-related favors for providing money for politicians. He's again donated to Hillary, his biggest competition, if he makes it into the general. And Harry Reid and other Democrats, first of all, he's donated to them and fundraised for them. Additionally, Harry Reid says that he's pulling for him. Let's see. We talked about, the state of the union right now, the state of the country. People are angry. People are so angry because the establishment has betrayed them over and over and over again. And I promise you, Donald Trump will do the same. You think that Donald Trump is actually going to do some of the things that he says he's going to do. Again, most of the stuff he's saying is wrong. Most of the stuff is not conservative whatsoever. The things I just talked about, not conservative whatsoever. They are progressive. He is a progressive. But if you think that somehow he's going to make the other side pay, if this is about some kind of revenge, and I don't understand how that's going to work out. How? What is he going to do? He's going to make somebody pay. He seems to be making deals with people. You know, Donald Trump calls people nasty. If anybody is nasty, it's this guy. Again, there was one clip where he was on the The Apprentice? Is that what that show is called? His reality show? I don't know. Anyway, he was on the show, and somebody's coming up to him talking about some girl on his team begging on her knees, and he's like, oh, that must have been a pretty sight, that girl on her knees. Look, this guy is nasty. All right, he's just a nasty, mean person. He's a strong man. And again, we are at this critical time. I think that we are in a combination time period between the 1930s and the 1960s. Let me tell you why. We were headed in the 1930s. We were heading into we'd already entered into this progressive period, and the government started to explode. The government started around this time period, and shortly after, the government got bigger and bigger and bigger. We had the New Deal era, and the government was growing. This is really the roots of the progressive movement. This is where it started to poison our form of government at these points. Within 20 years of there, but it started to really take root in the 1930s. Then we're entering into World War II, and obviously World War I before that. I honestly think that we're spiraling into a World War III scenario. And if we elect a strong man like Donald Trump is not going to be the kind of guy that is going to be able to finesse diplomatically. He's going to react emotionally, because that's what Donald Trump does. I seriously worry that Donald Trump is going to spiral us into, if he becomes elected, which I don't think he has a chance. He's going to end up losing the general. This is important to note. He will lose the general against Hillary. So a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for Hillary Clinton, because he'll lose. Again, 65% of his own party won't vote for him, myself included. The hashtag #NeverTrump is going crazy on Twitter. And I'm partly responsible for that as well. I've been using that a lot lately. Look, there's an urgency that needs to be spoken here. Voting for Donald Trump will get Hillary Clinton elected. Voting for Rubio. By the way, again, the people I've spoken with who were Trump supporters, one person in particular was saying, Mac, why aren't you bashing Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton? Why are you bashing Donald Trump? He's on our side. I'm bashing people, first of all, who are not ideologically what I consider a good candidate. And again, if you've listened to the show, you know where I stand on everyone. I bash my own guy, Ted Cruz. Not even really my own guy, just the only guy I can vote for right there. So, but let me tell you, first of all, what the purpose of this show is. This is not a unbiased news show, all right? I don't claim to be fair and balanced, because I'm not, all right? I give you my perspective. I'm giving you my opinion. Why am I giving you this opinion? Because I'm trying to apply what you see every day, all right, what we're seeing, the situations that arise within government, and actually apply it to a liberty-oriented philosophy, using the non-aggression principle. I'm trying to just basically, this is an opinion and philosophy show. That's what this show is. And I'm just giving you my opinion. And I think right now one of the biggest problems that we have is Donald Trump is the front runner for the GOP. This is scary. A scary time. We have, again, he's getting endorsements from the KKK, and he won't denounce them. He's got to look into the group. He doesn't know which KKK groups to denounce. Okay. But the landscape, the geopolitical landscape, the global landscape is very similar to what it was before World War II. There's a lot of tensions building up. That's what's happening now, geopolitically. So we're in the same era, the 1930s, essentially. But domestically, we are completely different than we were in the 1930s. America was so different politically. The progressive ideology had just started to take root. Now we are not only just poisoned by it, we have sepsis. We are suffering. We got gangrene. We have to start severing limbs in order to survive. If we want to survive, we've got to take drastic action now. We are poisoned. They have our education system. They have the government. They even have the establishment Republican side. Donald Trump, our front runner, is a progressive. We're dying. The country's headed down the wrong track. And people are so divided. You know, before Obama got elected, this was supposed to be the generation, my generation, the millennial generation. Now, I'm a graybeard millennial, as Buck Sexton always says. I'm a graybeard millennial. I'm 30 years old. I don't really understand the millennial generation. I don't get my own generation because, you know, I saw what the world was like before 9/11. You know, they have no idea what it was like. I understand what the country was like before 9/11. You talk about making America great again. The government, this Leviathan, has just continued to grow and grow, and they don't know anything different. This is all they know. That's all they've ever seen. That's the only basis that they have to compare anything off of was what they've seen. And you know, an 18-year-old kid nowadays, they don't know what you mean by make America great again. They don't know what you mean by taking our country back. They don't get it. And primarily it's because the left has their hooks in the educational system. The education system doesn't even teach them the Constitution. They don't even understand. As far as they know, it's a living, breathing document. And, you know, you can just interpret it however you want. You can change the meanings of words. It's whatever. This is what I mean. We have to take back our educational system. We have to take back the Constitution, restore our country to a more constitutional republic. But as far as the powder keg that we have now, we got the Black Lives Matter, we got the progressive left making this their case, and they're poisoning the minds of college students to actually feel white guilt about themselves. Oh, you're such a terrible person because you're white. You have this privilege. You can't give it away. You should just feel crappy about it. Look, that's the most racist crap I've ever heard, and I'm sick of being the only race that you can be racist against. I'm sick of it, and I get why Donald Trump supporters are sick of it too. But the answer here is not hate. It's love. It's education. We have to explain. We have to make the argument. We have to tell people. And first of all, we're at such a critical time right now. We're sitting on a powder keg. And if we're actually going to be the bulwark for liberty, if we're actually going to stop this progressive disease from spreading further, we have to do it now. And if we can't do it now, maybe there's going to be one other opportunity. Maybe 4 years from now, maybe Hillary Clinton won't be so extreme to where she'll poison us. I know that Donald Trump will destroy this nation. We'll see unrest at unbelievable levels. He'll be a divider in chief. I hate to steal a line from Jeb Bush, but he will be a divider. You can't unite behind this guy because the only thing he unites behind is himself. His brand. Donald Trump doesn't care about you. Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump. He's admitted to being greedy. He's admitted to being, only caring about the money. He doesn't care about you. He certainly doesn't care about the Constitution. He doesn't have any scruples or values. Only thing that he cares about is green. So, if we elect Donald Trump, somehow, some way, he ends up beating Hillary in the primary. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry, in the general. It won't happen. He's at a deficit. He's going to lose. Again, 65% of his own party won't vote for him, myself included. You know, he says, I got the Latino vote in Nevada. There's only 79 Latinos that actually voted in that primary, and it's likely because Donald Trump has pushed all of the Latinos that were still in the Republican Party out. But Donald Trump will be an albatross for the Republican Party. He will be a boat anchor around our necks. He will be looked at and pointed to for decades as this is what Republicans stand for. And we talk about the swinging pendulum. Right now the pendulum is swinging to the right. People are pissed. People are tired. They're sick and tired of being screwed over. They're sick and tired of this progressive government trying to steal their liberty. They're sick and they're tired and they're angry, and I get it. But I'll tell you right now, if Donald Trump is the president, the way he's going to react is going to make them sick and tired of him and sick and tired of the Republicans. And the pendulum will swing back the other way just as hard, if not harder. And we won't just be looking at a Hillary Clinton. We'll be looking at a Bernie Sanders. We'll be looking at a Elizabeth Warren. We'll be looking at a social justice warrior who's talking about equality. This is the danger of Donald Trump. Now, I don't want to see Hillary Clinton in the presidency. I don't want to see Bernie Sanders in the presidency. But I can tell you that there's really no difference in policy between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. So what is the point? If we're choosing between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, vote third party, I will. Or I'll abstain, but there's no reason. There's a good Libertarian candidate every year. There's usually a good Libertarian candidate. So if it's Gary Johnson, I've been looking at him. I like Gary Johnson a lot. I really do. I can't vote Donald Trump, and I won't. I'd rather vote Libertarian, and it's very unlikely unless there's some freaking miracle that happens that a Libertarian candidate gets elected. That would be amazing. But unless there's some freaking miracle, that will mean Hillary Clinton will get elected. And I think that's a better scenario than Donald Trump. And let me explain why. Donald Trump is a strong man, and like strong men in the 1960s, Richard Nixon, he was what the people called for during the time, a turbulent time of the 1960s. Again, you have to remember, we're talking about a time of political unrest, violence in the streets, protest, assassinations. This was a serious and critical issue for the people, and they were afraid. And Nixon played upon these fears. Listen to his political ad from 1968. He's talking about the first civil right. Now you hear this music. There's a bunch of violent and disturbing pictures flashing in these commercials. People have head wounds, and there's a picture of, this looks like a police officer on a radio looking really mean, and these pictures are flashing very quickly. In addition, listen to the music. It's very creepy sounding, right? High pitch, kind of shrill, scary kind of stuff, unsettling music.
It is time for an honest look at the problem of order in the United States. Dissent is a necessary ingredient of change. But in a system of government that provides for peaceful change, there is no cause that justifies resort to violence. Let us recognize that the first civil right of every American is to be free from domestic violence. So I pledge to you, we shall have order in the United States.
And then it ends, and it says, this time, vote like your whole world depended on it. He's saying that you have a right to peace, basically. That's your first civil right, is a right to peace. And there shall be order. Let's play that again, because this, to me, this sounds more like a threat than a promise.
There is no cause that justifies resort to violence. Let us recognize that the first civil right of every American is to be free from domestic violence. So I pledge to you, we shall have order in the United States.
We shall have order. We shall have order. Look, people have, first of all, a right to protest. You do. You don't have a right to hurt other people. You got to follow the non-aggression principle in the law. But shall have order. He was the kind of guy that was willing to do whatever it took to have order, and he did. He was a strong man, and the people voted for him for that. This is Donald Trump. I want you to imagine the scenario where the economy collapses, because we're close, gang. We're teetering on the brink. And when it happens, a lot of people say, "Oh, why is it not happening? I don't understand. The system is unsustainable." We are already in the process of the crash, but the rest of the world hasn't understood. They haven't caught up yet. They haven't figured it out. All that it's going to take, and this will be an overnight crash. The only step that it will take is for the rest of the world to stop using the petrodollar, to stop selling oil for U.S. dollars, for the U.S. dollar to stop being the world reserve currency. Once that happens, all of the foreign U.S. dollars that are out there, all the dollars that are out there in foreign banks are going to come flooding back into the United States. And because our government has digitized and printed so much money, our currency is going to explode. We're going to have so much currency in our country, it's going to devalue the dollar to the point of where it'll be worthless. It'll be toilet paper. You won't even be able to get anything for it. We're talking about hyperinflation. That overnight, that's it. Now, on top of all of the divisiveness of having a Donald Trump in office, all of the protests and civil unrest, all of the crap that will go on with that, you combine all of this stuff with an economic collapse, with Donald Trump in office, it's not going to be well. Things are not going to end well for us. But again, just to be fair here, I'm not just bashing Donald Trump, okay? I'm not just saying that I won't vote for Donald Trump. I won't vote for Rubio either, and let me tell you why. Because Rubio has been lying this entire campaign. He's been lying about Ted Cruz. He's been lying about his own record. He's been lying. He's taken a page out of Donald Trump's book. Donald Trump, if you accuse him or you actually comment on his record, you actually point out his record, he says, "Liar, liar, you're nasty, liar." This is what Donald Trump does. Rubio has learned from that. He's doing the same thing. The Gang of Eight bill was an amnesty bill. There can be no doubt. There's no argument about this. He was trying to pass amnesty. He was trying to get people who came here illegally, have them jump the front of the line. He wants them to pay a tax, and then they can be a U.S. citizen. No, absolutely not. Because these people, first of all, their first act to get in this country, they violated the law. They should not be forgiven. They should not get second chances. They should be kicked out. And look, I'm not saying we try to actually get all 11 or 12 million or however many there are. We're not going to be able to get them all. Okay, but we enforce the laws. When we find them, we send them out. And we continue to look for them. We increase our ICE agents. This is what Ted Cruz wants to do. Increase 3 times the amount of ICE agents. There's nothing wrong with looking for them. Realistically, you're not going to be able to get it, but you have to address the incentives behind why they're here as well, the welfare state. But I digress. Regardless, I don't like Rubio because of his support for the Gang of Eight. I don't like his support of the Patriot Act. He thinks that you can just violate the Fourth Amendment, and that's not a big deal. Again, the Constitution is important. Do you support the Constitution? Does this stuff matter to you, gang? It matters to me, and I think it matters to you. I believe in the Constitution, and primarily for this reason, all right? This was the contract. We said, government, all the stuff, in the rest of the Constitution, that's how you structure yourself. These are the things that you can specifically do, that you are granted power to do. But 1 through 10, this is the stuff that you can't do. You can't do these things, all right? So over here in the Bill of Rights are the things that you can't do. And over here in the rest of the Constitution are the things that you can do. These are your legitimate powers that you were granted. So keep this in mind, gang. When a politician says that he's going to violate the Bill of Rights, he's going to violate the Constitution, all right? They're actually violating a contract. The Constitution is just a contract. So if you violate one portion of the contract, the whole contract is null and void. Keep in mind, the government's power, all of it, is dictated by the Constitution. It's granted to them by the Constitution. Their very legitimacy is based upon the Constitution. So if a politician supports violating the Constitution, they're actually supporting or violating the document that gave them their own power, making it void, meaning they have no more legitimacy. This is urgently important that you understand this, gang. If they violate the Constitution, they violate the very document that gave them power, making it null and void, making them not legitimate. They are illegitimate. So I can't support Marco Rubio because he thinks that you can just bulk spy on Americans. You can collect their information without a warrant. He thinks that you can do so. You can treat every single American, because national security is of the utmost importance in his mind. He thinks that you can treat every single American like a criminal. You can search them without probable cause or reasonable suspicion. Supports the bulk spying programs of the NSA. Thinks that Edward Snowden is like a traitor. By the way, Ted Cruz came out, and at first he said he supported Edward Snowden, and then he said he needs to be prosecuted. So he's kind of backpedaled on that. Because Marco Rubio was attacking him, saying that he was weak on that. But he did. I don't think I've heard him call him a traitor. He very well could have. But even if he did, Ted Cruz has articulated his support for the Fourth Amendment, and he's not supporting the bulk spying programs and the Patriot Act, as far as I understand. He's actually been opposing them. But also, Marco Rubio has supported a no-fly zone in Syria. I can't support that. I cannot support getting further involved in Syria. Let's get out of the Middle East. If we're going to be in the Middle East, if we're going to have any friends in the Middle East, let's have a friend with Israel. I don't understand this idea that we can't make it without the foreign oil. We have all the oil here that we will need. And let's be clear, even if it only lasts 100 years, which it is very likely going to last more, but even if it only lasts 100 years, we're going to come up with other ways, other alternatives. I mentioned before the billionsandchange.com or .org, I think it's .com, documentary. The guy from 5 Hour Energy Drink, he made a limitless, or he made a blueprint, an idea for a limitless energy machine where they bore down to the center of the earth and they pull out the heat from the core. Using this substance called graphene. It's a superconductor. So they pull this stuff up, and this heat up, and it heats up. It's going to heat up water to make steam to spin turbines like we're already doing, except we're using more combustible fuels. So now we're actually just using limitless energy from the earth. We're not going to need oil very, very shortly. And if we get out of the way, if we get rid of the EPA, we get rid of these progressive tax rates, which Donald Trump supports, progressive tax rates, meaning the rich get taxed more percentage of their wealth than the poor. How is that fair? How could it not be fair to tax everyone the same percentage? Because it is more. 10% of 100,000 is less than 10% of 100 million. I'm sorry, it just is. How could that not be fair? Progressive income taxes are inherently unfair. The amount of regulation stifling this economy is some of the things that are actually preventing us from coming up with new innovations, to find another way around the foreign oil. But we've already got the oil here. All we got to do is utilize it. Stop regulating the crap out of our industries. It's just frustrating that we keep looking at people to solve big government problems who have big government answers. And again, Marco Rubio, he's the establishment guy. He's going to cut a deal with them. He already did. He cut a deal with the Democrats for the Gang of Eight bill. I don't trust him. He is probably just as progressive as some of these other guys, that these establishment candidates, but I'll tell you, he may be conservative on some things, but I don't think you can call yourself a conservative when you're saying that you would violate the Fourth Amendment, search people without a warrant, treat everybody like they're criminals. You want to get us involved and set up a no-fly zone in the Middle East to protect our interests, to protect our stake in the Middle East, to prevent Russia from accessing it, the oil over there. Look, get out of the Middle East, all right? Who cares what Russia does? If Russia wants to take over that oil, let them get involved in a quagmire, the graveyard of empires, which is the Middle East. Let them get involved in that if they want to. We can get involved in wars and whatnot if they have a direct threat to us, not just some, ISIS has chemical weapons. Look, maybe if you stop giving them weapons, I honestly believe that we're the ones providing all this crap over there. If we stop getting involved over there, maybe we'd be a whole lot safer. But I digress. We're going to have to cut to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive more into the feature topics here. I got a whole lot more to go. And I'm going to finish wrapping up why Donald Trump is a progressive. Anyway, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore. With the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within the heartland of free America, where liberty still shines bright. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
Mr. Trump, sometimes, and maybe in the heat of a campaign, you say things and you have to dial them back. Last week, the New York Times editorial board quoted you as saying that you would impose up to a 45% tariff on Chinese goods.
And that's wrong. They were wrong. It's the New York Times. They're always wrong.
Well,
they were wrong.
You never said it because they provided
what I said in editorial
remarks.
I would use, they were asking me what to do about North Korea. China, they don't like to tell us, but they have total control, just about, of North Korea. They can solve the problem of North Korea if they wanted to. But they taunt us. They say, well, we don't really have control. Without China, North Korea doesn't even eat. China is ripping us on trade. They're devaluing their currency, and they're killing our companies. Thousands and thousands. You look at the number of companies and the number in terms of manufacturing and plants that we've lost 50,000 because of China.
So now, you never advocated putting a tariff on their goods.
We've lost anywhere between 4 and 7 million jobs because of China. What I said this, we have very unfair trade with China. We're going to have a trade deficit of $505 billion this year with China. A lot of that is because they devalue their currency. What I said to the...
All right, let me just comment here on this. By the way, gang, we're in the third hour. This is the overdrive hour of our program. If you have anything you'd like to add to the program, you have some thoughts, feel free to give us a call, 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. And feel free to get us on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow or Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. So China, they're entering into a extremely bad economic policy. They keep devaluing their currency because they want us to buy their products, which is good for us because we're buying cheap goods. We have a lot of cheap goods. It's also bad for us because it hurts our stuff that we're manufacturing. But again, what are we manufacturing? We can't manufacture anything. The reason why Donald Trump always talks about we lose to China, we lose to Mexico. Why are all these countries leaving America? It's because we have all of these regulations and all these taxes and all this other crap that's making it harder. Again, this is what I'm telling you. It's harder and harder to make a living in America because of the government. So the idea that you're going to tariff Mexico or China, first of all, what you're saying is you're going to tax the American people more. So Donald Trump is for raising taxes. He is pro huge increase in taxes. They were talking about a 45% tax increase. He said he wasn't for that. He is for some tariff of some form. But again, it's the answer here is not to tariff China, because again, all China has to do is start selling U.S. bonds, screws us over, devalues the dollar. The rest of the world will understand how bad and weak America is economically, and then start dumping the U.S. dollar as a world reserve currency. If that happens overnight, we have a severe economic collapse, global economic collapse, global Great Depression. That's it. That's it, gang. All she wrote. You don't want to piss off China. And again, a tariff is taking money out of your pocket for the only reason of making you, forcing you to pay more for Chinese goods or cheaper goods, like the kind of goods that are in Walmart. Do you shop at Walmart? Do you buy anything from Walmart ever? Do you go there because the prices are cheap? Well, they won't be anymore. They'll be so expensive that you'll have to buy American because it'll be cheaper at that point. What he's talking about is a dramatic price increase. Are you for this? Does this sound progressive? This sounds like a price control, tariffs and price controls. Those are not conservative free market principles. These are progressive big government principles. I'm sorry. Donald Trump is a progressive.
The New York Times is that we have great power, economic power over China. And if we wanted to use that, and the amount, and where the 45% comes in, that would be the amount based on their devaluations that we should get. That we should get. What I'm saying is this.
So he's trying to make up this deficit. Okay, what he means by trade deficit is that we buy more things from China than they buy from us. That's a trade deficit. So he's trying to make up with the 45%, he's trying to make you pay for the rest of the deficit. China's not going to pay for that. It's going to be you. And what is China going to do? They're probably going to increase their price of goods if we start. They'll probably lay a tariff on our goods coming in too. So again, protectionism leads to destruction. This is what Ronald Reagan said. It's destructionism. We've learned these lessons. This has been done before. It doesn't work. The only way to regulate the free market is to let it regulate itself. Donald Trump is talking about taking money out of your pocket and giving it to the government for no other reason, just to force you to buy an American product, which would then be cheaper. Not because it's lowered the price, because we got the government out of the way and now we're competitive and we can actually produce goods cheaply. No. Instead, raise the price of everything else and force you through economic pressures to pay for American goods. And if you want to buy Chinese goods, then you're going to be paid, you're going to be taxed, and you're going to have to pay for that deficit.
Saying we do it, but if they don't start treating us fairly and stop devaluing and let their currency rise so that our companies can compete and we don't lose all of these millions of jobs that we're losing, I would certainly start taxing goods that come in from China.
Okay, losing all the millions of jobs. Let's point out here that Walmart would go out of business. How many people will be losing jobs then? Do you sell anything that comes from China? Do you have anything that comes? But he's talking about Japan too, by the way. Japan, Mexico, China. These are all huge manufacturing companies. If you sell anything from these companies, it's going to cost you a freaking fortune. You're going to go out of business. That is what Donald Trump is talking. You want to talk about killing jobs? Right there. He would, one false swoop, destroy the economy. Walmart out of business. Anybody? By the way, FYI, you have a job that you have to buy parts from Japan, like computer parts, technology, things along those lines. You need something that you have to buy, even if your company isn't necessarily selling, like if you're not in a retail store where you're selling stuff from China, Japan, Mexico, if you have to buy parts from there in order to do your business, you will now have to pay this tariff on parts that are not produced in the United States. Unbelievable how much this will destroy the economy. I really do fear this situation happening, but it's no surprise because, by the way, the HuffPost.com, an article titled "More Voters Fear Trump Than Support Him." This article is dated 2/18/2016, written by Emily Peck and Ariel Edwards-Levy. They did a poll. This is a USA Today Suffolk University poll that says that more people are scared of Donald Trump than anything else. 38% of Americans are scared of Donald Trump. 18.2% dissatisfied. Only 24.4% satisfied. And 15% are enthusiastic, with 4.4% undecided. 38% of Americans are scared of Donald Trump. That is something to be said. He continues talking about his tariffs.
China. Who the hell has to lose $505 billion a year?
I'm sorry, sir. You lost me. But I do want to understand that.
Well, it's not that complicated, actually.
Then I apologize.
Okay.
But then I want to understand, if you don't want a 45% tariff, you say that wasn't the figure, would you be open, or are you open to slapping a higher tariff on Chinese goods of any sort to go back at them?
Okay, just so you understand, I know so much about trade with China. Carl Icahn today, as you know, endorsed me. Many businessmen want to endorse me.
I know, but that's
Carl said, no, but he's somebody that, these are the kind of people that we should use to negotiate, not the kind of people that we have who...
I know more about anything than everyone. My brain is huge, and frankly, I'm just a damn genius about the economy.
Political hacks who don't know what they're doing, and we have problems like this. So these are the kind of people. We should use our best and our finest.
All right, now, on that tariff, yes or no?
No, here's what I'm saying. China, they send their goods in. We don't tax. They do whatever they want to do. They do whatever they do. Okay. When we do business with China, they tax us. You don't know it. They tax us. I have many friends that deal with China. They can't deal. Number one, they don't want the product. And when they finally get the product, it is taxed. And if you look at what happened with Boeing, and if you look at what happened with so many companies that deal. So we don't have an equal playing field. I'm saying absolutely. We don't have to continue to lose $505 billion as a trade deficit for the privilege of dealing with China. I'm a free trader. I believe it. But we have to be smart, and we have to use smart people to negotiate. I have the largest bank in the world as a tenant of mine. I sell tens of millions of dollars. I love China. I love the Chinese people, but they laugh themselves. They can't believe how stupid the American leadership is.
So you're open.
Okay, so he dodges that one in that one circumstance. Isn't that painful, by the way, to listen to him dodging? He would not flat out say that he would tariff them. Everything he said supports tariffing, but he didn't flat out say that he would. Well, he does over here. Here we go. And the clip is loading. Here we go.
How do you keep them? You keep them by...
Because labor's cheap, that's why they go.
Oh, by the way, in this clip, he's talking about how you keep people in America, and he's talking about putting tariffs on companies. That's his solution. That's how Donald Trump thinks you keep people in America. And again, by the way, Donald Trump, just to point out again, Donald Trump, his own company manufactures stuff in Mexico. He won't even do it here. He's talking about slapping tariffs on people, or punishing companies from going over, leaving America. Again, it's because of the regulation. It's because of the big government problems, and he's talking about solving them with big government problems. That's how Donald Trump thinks that you can keep companies. But now he's talking about putting tariffs.
You keep them by talking to them. But I would say you keep them, if they go there, they'll make cars, and they'll sell them to the United States. No tax, no nothing. Just come right across the border. The next thing you know, they'll have the illegals driving them right across the border. Take them in, drive them in. It's cheaper that way, okay? I mean, you have to talk to these people. You have to go and see the head of Ford.
And they say the labor's cheaper over there.
And you know what? Then we'll say, that's fine. If the labor's cheaper over there, that's good. But you know what? You're going to have to pay a tax to get the cars back in. You're going to have to pay a penalty.
There you go. He wants to put tariffs. That's exactly what he's talking about, putting tariffs on foreign goods. I mean, this, like I said, this is not free market. How could anyone who claims to be a free market conservative, a free market capitalist, even a free thinker, how can you support tariffs? It hasn't worked. Look it up. Look into the history of when we have used protectionist policies. They have always failed. They have always decimated the economy because it always blows up. Again, like every government program and policy that's out there, every single time the government sticks its nose in something, it ends up making the problem 1,000,000 times worse.
And if you put a penalty on, a tariff or whatever you call it, and believe me, China's doing it to us. China dumps all the stuff with us, and I'm not complaining about that, but I have friends that are manufacturers. They cannot get their product into China. So if they're going to do it to us, we have to do it to them.
And they'll say, but then my car's going to cost more for your people.
No, you know what? They're going to make cars here. And maybe a person will buy fewer cars over the course of a lifetime. Who cares? We have to bring back our jobs, Chris. We have to do it.
Yeah, maybe you won't be able to afford that new car. Who cares? Donald Trump certainly doesn't, because Donald Trump can afford to buy lots of cars. Donald Trump is filthy freaking rich, as he's been reminding us. You know, he's like Scrooge McDuck, swimming around in his money bank, his gold, just gold coins. He wipes his butt with $100 bills. Donald Trump doesn't give a crap about you, because Donald Trump is too busy colluding with the government to steal old ladies' homes right out from underneath her because he wanted to build a limousine parking lot. Here's the clip.
In life, you have a thing called condemnation, and cities have the right to condemn for the good of a city, whether it's New York, whether it's Los Angeles, whether it's any other place. Atlantic City is one of those cities, and it's got the right to condemn.
In the 1990s, Donald Trump was behind an outrageous case of eminent domain abuse. Vera Koking was an elderly widow who lived for decades in her home beside Atlantic City's boardwalk. She loved that home. And Donald Trump wanted Vera's home so he could put in limousine parking for his casino across the street.
Everybody coming into Atlantic City sees that property, and it's not fair to Atlantic City and the people. They're staring at this terrible house instead of staring at beautiful fountains and beautiful other things that would be good.
You're bullying these people out because they're...
Excuse me, that's wrong. But for you to use the word bully, John, is very unfair. This is a government case. This is not Donald Trump.
Yes, it's Donald Trump. It's you and your cronies in government working together.
For you to...
And that's absolutely true. Look, he's bribing politicians. We played it earlier. When you bribe them, when you give them money, they'll do whatever the hell you want them to do. And this is exactly what he's doing. He's trying to, for his own personal gain, he's trying to, he conflates this in later interviews. This is from I think the 80s or something. Excuse me. He's talked about how this use of eminent domain, without it, you couldn't have things like roads and hospitals and schools. Are you kidding me, Donald? You're really trying to tell me that a parking lot for limousines for your casinos is the same thing? He supports the City of New London versus Kelo decision. This is a Supreme Court decision that determined that Pfizer, the company Pfizer, the Viagra company, that they could seize, using the coercive force of government, somebody's private property in order to build a factory. And again, by the way, they didn't even build the factory. They stole her property. It's just a destroyed lot. They never built the factory. But the reason why they destroyed this lot, they seized this property, was because the City of New London, they had a spending problem, and rather than addressing their spending problem, they said we don't have enough income. We don't have enough tax revenue. So what we have to do is we have to start taxing people more. And they ended up they tapped out on what they could pull out of people. So they said, all right, we need to bring new people in here. Let's get Pfizer in here. Oh, well, this holdout won't give up their land. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use eminent domain to steal their home away from them. They don't want to move. They've always wanted to live there. They've always wanted a home their whole life. They're proud of that home. They're happy that they have the home. And again, the only way to actually have a fair deal where you take somebody's property is if they're willing to give it. If they're not willing to give it, that's wrong. That's immoral. But apparently, Donald Trump supports the fact of for private gain, because if you think that somebody, a private company or some other person, will use that property more efficiently, i.e., by efficiently they mean produce more tax revenue for the city, then it's okay for them to jack your property, just steal it from you. Essentially, I mean, it's at gunpoint. Essentially, try not moving, try to keep your property. They'll kill you. They'll kill you no different than they killed Eric Gardner. All right. Now, look, that case, I'm not judging the police that were there. Look, he did resist, but why were the police there? Why were the police even hassling this guy in the first place? Because of tax revenue. The government wanted their cut. Yeah, he was violating the law, and yeah, he started to struggle against the police. I'm not saying that he was violent. I'm not saying that he deserved to be choked out, choked to death. No. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, the law that he was violating is a victimless crime. The only victim was the government. Government wanted their cut. But he did violate the law. I'm not coming after the police. I'm not again, I'm very pro peace officers. All right? Very pro police. But they were enforcing a law, and he was struggling. He wasn't going to comply with the police. Look, this is one of the dangers that happens when you don't comply with the police. You risk being killed, because again, they only know how to do one thing, and that is to impose force. That's it. And I'm not talking specifically about the police. I'm talking about government. And police are just an extension of the government force. They are the arm of the Leviathan, the enforcement arm. So no disrespect to those oath-keeping police officers out there. If you respect and obey your constitutional oath, if you uphold and defend the Constitution, then more power to you. But Donald Trump, he thinks that you can just steal people's private property.
All these people cronies is very unfair. To be calling good public servants cronies.
An unaccountable state agency tried to condemn Vera Koking's property and transfer it to Donald Trump. He convinced the government officials to use their eminent domain power to take Vera's home. This was public power, but used for private gain.
We have been so nice to this woman. I offered her a lot of money out of this, a little thing called heart.
Heart? He doesn't have no heart, that man. The only thing he has is what he's worried about himself.
Basic to freedom is that if you own something, it's yours, that the government doesn't just come and take it away from you.
Do you want to live in a city where you can't build schools? Do you want to live in a city where you can't build roads or...
You want me to punch you in the face? You want me to hang you upside down from your ankles on the third story of a building? You want me to go ahead and make you some concrete shoes or whatever and have you swim in the Hudson? You better shut your mouth or I'm going to make you.
Highways or have access to hospitals. Condemnation is a necessary evil.
But you're not talking about a hospital. You're talking about a building a rich guy finds ugly.
Across the country, land-hungry developers have teamed up with tax-hungry politicians to bulldoze people's homes and businesses on the mere possibility that the new, wealthier businesses will generate more jobs or more taxes. It is time to end this kind of abuse. Represented by the Institute for Justice, Vera beat Donald Trump and saved her home.
If there is justice, then they would have never done to me what they're doing. I want to see justice in here.
The problem is the governmental power. Again, Donald Trump, he uses that power. This is the issue. And here's another thing with Donald Trump. By the way, I know we've been spending this whole episode. I got so much stuff I got to get to. There's so many progressive policies from Donald Trump. I thought I could squeeze this all in an hour, but it's taken 3 hours of the program to get all this done. This is a new article here, CNNmoney.com or money.cnn.com, written by Dylan Byers, February 2016, February 26, 2016. Donald Trump wants to open up libel law so that he can sue the press. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Donald Trump supporters, I bring this back to the beginning. Does it matter if Donald Trump is a progressive? does it matter? I feel like I have illustrated the case. I have given you all of the proof that you need to know the facts. At this point, if you choose not to see it, if you choose to ignore it, if you choose to pull the lever for Donald Trump anyway, you might as well have voted for Hillary Clinton. However, again, it will be worse. He will be a wedge within our own party. He will destroy the party, the GOP. He'll destroy the Constitution. He'll destroy the economy. He'll bring us closer to World War III. And for the next several decades, people will look at the Republican Party and say, that's what the Republican Party stands for, Donald Trump. Look, if Hillary Clinton wins the next election, things are going to be bad. Things are probably, no matter who gets the nomination, no matter who wins this election, things are still going to be bad, no matter who. The only thing is, are we going to get somebody who's going to work for us or work against us? Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton will work against us. They'll work against the Constitution. They'll work against the free market. They'll create a bigger federal leviathan that's going to continue to just crush us with its weight. The tax burden is too much to bear. Donald Trump thinks that it's okay, to have a big government. It's all about managing. He says we got stupid leaders, bad management. That's the problem. But with Donald Trump, it's gonna taint the party for years to come, and we will never. We're gonna all of the gains that we've had in the Congress. By the way, we own Congress. We got granted the establishment's doing nothing about it, but we have a Republican House and a Republican Senate. Donald Trump gets elected, that goes away. You'll see that House turn blue very quickly. You see the Senate turn blue very quickly. And shortly after that, you'll see the pendulum swing all the way back, and the presidency will turn blue as well. And that we'll have the same situation that we had with Obama, where he had both the Congress and presidency, and that's how we got Obamacare. Only the pendulum will swing further this time, further than Obama, and we'll be looking at Obama with Donald Trump, and he'll seem like a conservative underneath Donald Trump, and he'll seem like a conservative. I adamantly oppose Obama. Just to keep that in mind, adamantly oppose Obama. He's a progressive as well. He's an ideologue. However, the next Democrat we get in office after Trump, because the pendulum will swing back, will be so far down the socialist path, the ideological path. There'll be nothing left if we survive that long. With Hillary, though, keep in mind, if Hillary's old, she's had some health problems recently, and I don't know if you guys are aware, she's been having coughing fits when she's out on the campaign. She's been they last for several minutes. I don't know what's going on with her. I think she has some serious health issues. So I honestly believe that Hillary probably won't make it for another 4 years after one term. I'm not saying vote for Hillary. Don't vote for Hillary. Vote with your conscience. All right, vote for whoever you want. I'm voting for Ted Cruz, or I'm voting for a Libertarian. That's where I stand. And if I can't find if a Libertarian doesn't get nominated that I can vote for, then I'm just going to abstain, and I'm just not going to vote. I'm not voting for a progressive, and I'm not going to vote for somebody who's not ideologically consistent with me. I will never compromise on my beliefs again, period. I voted for John Kerry when I was a kid. Very stupid thing. I was against the Iraq War. I believed an argument from this website. John Kerry's a douchebag, but I'm voting for him anyway.com. I was a young, dumb kid. Young, dumb liberal. I've seen the world. I've got some experience. I realized that liberal policies don't work. And the only thing I supported John Kerry on was just getting us out of Iraq. It's, I voted for McCain. I didn't know enough about his policies. I didn't know who he was. I didn't understand he was a progressive. I thought, hey, he's a war hero. Yeah, I'll vote for him. He's a Republican. He's a war hero. Okay. in the last few years, I've realized that all of my heroes are a bunch of chumps. You know, it just seems like the more time that goes by, the more I find out about people that I looked up to, and I dislike that. Like there's things that I find out about them that I dislike, and I'll say, just be your own hero. Have your own values. Don't idealize somebody too much. I mean, hell, even Dr. Martin Luther King cheated on his wife. You know, nobody's perfect. You know, but I'll tell you, and when it comes to political candidates, no candidate's perfect. Ted Cruz, I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, but he does have an ideology that I can get behind. You know, that I can at least pull a lever for. He will uphold the Constitution based upon his record, what he says. You know, I believe that he will, but that belief can change. I'm telling you, my support for him can change overnight. He's come damn close to losing my support with it. The issue with Apple. I voted for Romney. Romney's an establishment candidate. He's not going to get anything done. You know, it's the lukewarm situation. Why? We keep saying that. You know, we got to get a moderate candidate up there because he's, you know, everybody else are too extreme. They're not electable. Look, as Reagan said, we need bold colors. You raise a flag of what you represent, and people will flock to it. You want to know why people aren't going out to vote for you know, Romneys and McCain's? Is because they're lukewarm. They don't stay. Why would you want to vote for a progressive light when you have an option of an actual progressive or a socialist now? We have had record turnouts in the primaries, record turnouts. And I honestly believe it's because people, number one, they're angry, but number two, there are bold colors being raised right now. Real differences between what it means to be a progressive and what it means to be a conservative. It's up to us to decide what we're going to do. We are at this critical crossroads right now, and we have to choose. Will we go further down into the abyss following these progressive policies, or will we pull ourselves up and give ourselves an opportunity, get the government out of the way for the small businesses, which are the lifeblood of this nation, to actually pull us out of this debt crisis that we have, actually make something in America again. Donald Trump talks about winning. Donald Trump talks about making America great again. He doesn't talk about how. No different than Obama talking about hope and change. Change to what? So yeah, I'll be voting third party if I can't vote Ted Cruz, or if Ted Cruz screws it up. I'm telling you, one false move. That's all it takes. If he screws it up, I'm done. But for now, you got my vote, Ted Cruz. I hope he's got your vote. If you support him, I mean, if you support his policies, decisions, I think right now Rubio is not the answer. Number one, all of the reasons I said before: the Gang of Eight bill, support of the Patriot Act, violating the Fourth Amendment, and supporting, just ignoring the Constitution. He agrees with bulk spying. He wants a no-fly zone in Syria, and he is part of the establishment, part of this political establishment that just wants to get shit. Excuse me, apologize. Get stuff done. Haven't cursed on air, I don't think, but maybe one time. So you can tell I get fired up about this. Stop voting for Rubio. Stop it. Vote for Cruz. If you think that his ideas are the same as yours, if you're voting for Rubio because he's a more electable candidate, Iowa was the exact case. It shows you that Ted Cruz is electable. The fact that it's been essentially neck and neck, but Ted Cruz is the only one that's won a primary and the only one projected to win a primary. Ted Cruz is the only one that has a path to beat Donald Trump right now. But Marco Rubio, if he really cared about this country, again, I honestly think that he's more concerned about the power. He's part of the establishment. If he really cared about the country, he wouldn't just be trying to soak up as many delegates. He would drop out because he realizes that there is no pathway to victory. After Super Tuesday, if he stays in the race, which he will, we know that he's trying to get a broker convention, which is dangerous. Extremely dangerous. But Ted Cruz is the only one that stands a chance against Donald Trump and wins against Hillary Clinton in a general. If you're voting on Tuesday, if you're voting, the only guy to vote for is Ted Cruz. If you agree with his philosophy, if you or at least are close to his philosophy, if you're interested in the EPA being abolished and the IRS being abolished, if you want to get the government off our backs, you really want to make this country great, don't listen to Trump, don't listen to Rubio. Ted Cruz has got the plan right now. So let me actually, for the last bit of the show here, we got 26 minutes left in the program. I want to play for you an endorsement. I'm considering an endorsement here of Ted Cruz. Oh, you know what? Actually, before I do, let me actually get to the last little bit here of Trump. Him flip-flopping on invading Libya. He lied about never supporting Libya. Here's a clip.
Of Libya? I never discussed that subject. I was in favor of Libya. We would be so much better off if Gaddafi were in charge right now.
This is at the last debate. This is 2016. Him saying this in 2016 that he thinks that we'd be better off with Gaddafi in charge.
If these politicians went to the beach and didn't do a thing, and we had Saddam Hussein and we had Gaddafi in charge, instead of having terrorism all over the place, would be at least they killed terrorists, all right? And I'm not saying they were good because they were bad. They were really bad. But we don't know what we're getting. You look at Libya right now. ISIS, as we speak, is taking over their oil. As we speak, it's a total mess. We would have been better off if the politicians took a day off instead of going into war.
Gaddafi in Libya.
Oh, here's Donald Trump in 2000. This is February 2011, talking about Libya. So, okay, he says in 2016, he says, I never said nothing about supporting Libya. Now,
Gaddafi in Libya is killing thousands of people. Nobody knows how bad it is. And we're sitting around, we have soldiers all over the Middle East, and we're not bringing them in to stop this horrible carnage. And that's what it is. It's a carnage. You talk about all of the things that have happened in history. This could be one of the worst. Now, we should go in. We should stop this guy, which would be very easy and very quick. We could do it surgically. Stop him from doing it and save these lives. This is absolute nuts. We don't want to get involved, and you're going to end up with something like you've never seen before. Now, ultimately, the people will appreciate it. They're going to end up taking over the country eventually, but the people will appreciate it, and they should pay us back. But we have to go in to save these lives. These people are being slaughtered.
Okay, so just the last little bit there on Donald Trump. I wanted to get that out of the way. So here's an endorsement, or at least what I'm considering an endorsement of Ted Cruz by Robert, I believe his name is Reich, from MoveOn.org, the progressive socialist, because they're back in Bernie Sanders machine. Again, this is all paid for by billionaires on the left, like George Soros. Again, George Soros is 5 times richer than Donald Trump, and George Soros is funding the Bernie Sanders campaign, promoting, and this is all based upon the MoveOn machine. And Bernie Sanders is up there talking about billionaires, money in politics, while he's getting support from George Soros and these other billionaires of MoveOn.org. But I digress. So Robert Reich of MoveOn.org is denouncing Ted Cruz, and I would consider this endorsement. Listen what he had to say.
4 reasons Ted Cruz is even more dangerous than Donald Trump. Number 1, Cruz is more fanatical. Now, Trump is a bully, but he doesn't hew to any sharp ideological line. Cruz is a fierce ideologue. He denies the existence of man-made climate change.
Okay, because it's not real. There's no scientific evidence that proves, again, this is all just a theory, and they keep flubbing the numbers, they keep cooking the books on all the numbers. We've already caught them with their hand in the cookie jar on that. And again, ask your climate change friends, how many parts do you have to add of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in order to raise the temperature of the Earth 1 degree? They can't tell you. No one knows. It is all, climate change is all about the money. It's a redistribution of wealth plan. That's all it is. It's a funding mechanism. It's a global income tax. That's all it is. They're going to put a capstone on top of that with a global currency and a global government. That's all it is. It's a sham. So yeah, there is no such thing as man-made climate change.
Rejects same-sex marriage, wants to abolish the...
Okay, let's be clear. Reject same-sex marriage. He says it should be a state issue. It should be left to the states. This guy, Ted Cruz, his entire life has been fighting for states' rights issues. Instead of the federal government using the 14th Amendment to broad stroke across the United States and say, you know what, states, you don't have a right to decide what is, using the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, what is your right. All right, you don't have a right to do that. Even though the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, it says things not in the Constitution are reserved to the states. All right, that this is states' rights. All right, look, now I'm not a big fan of restricting gay marriage or anything like that. But I don't think that, first of all, the Supreme Court should be the one to decide and legislate from the bench. You know, we never elect these people; they sit for life, and they're appointees. You know. I got a major problem with it, with them legislating from the bench. That's not their job. But more importantly, you know, I believe it is a states issue, because there's nowhere in the Constitution that protects it. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says that the federal government can regulate this. It's a states issue. So he says no same-sex marriage. He doesn't say that. He personally doesn't agree with it. But what he's saying is that the states have a right to make laws on that themselves. The states can choose.
Internal Revenue Service.
Oh, he also says he wants to abolish the Internal Revenue Service. Heck yeah, I support that. That's something I can get behind.
Believes the Second Amendment guarantees everyone a right to guns.
Because it does.
He doesn't believe in a constitutional divide between church and state.
See, that's bull. Look, this is just a bold-faced lie, all right? It blows me away because Ted Cruz is a religious guy, but he's not trying to impose. He doesn't want to create a Church of America. All right, he's not trying to impose his religious beliefs on you. It's unbelievable.
Favors the death penalty, rejects immigration reform, demands the repeal of Obamacare, and Cruz takes a strict originalist view of the meaning of the Constitution.
Heck yeah.
Second, Cruz is a true believer. Donald Trump has no firm principles except making money, getting attention, and gaining power. But Cruz has spent much of his life embracing radical right economic and political views. Number three, Cruz is more disciplined and strategic. Trump is all over the place, often winging it, saying whatever pops into his mind. Cruz hews to a clear script and a carefully crafted strategy. He plays the long game, as he's shown in Iowa. And fourth,
and we need to play the long game. The left has been playing the long game. They got 100 years planned to turn us into a socialist country, and we're damn close, gang.
And finally, Cruz is a loner who's willing to destroy institutions. Trump has spent his career using the federal government and making friends with big shots, not Cruz. He's repeatedly led Republicans toward fiscal cliffs. In the fall of 2013, his opposition to Obamacare led in a significant way to the shutdown of the federal government.
He stood against his own party, the establishment GOP, who wasn't going to do a damn thing. He stood up and did exactly what he was elected to do. Harry Reid shut down the government because the Democrats were whiny little crybabies and would not fund the government piecemeal. They would rather the government be shut down than fund it one department at a time. Yeah, Cruz is a destroyer. He's going to destroy the IRS and the EPA, the two biggest albatrosses hanging around our neck, choking us. Choking this economy.
Both men would be disasters for America, but Ted Cruz would be the larger disaster.
Maybe a disaster for you bastards. Anyway, alrighty. So let's see here. We got a whole lot of other stuff that I want to get to here, but let's we got like 18 minutes left in the program. Let's move to the constitutional argument. Ted Cruz. He can't run for president. He was born in Canada. Ted Cruz is an illegal immigrant. Let's deport him. Look, that's just not true. All right. First of all, I've done the research on this. I told you guys that I wasn't going to come to you. I wasn't going to speak about this for acting like I had firsthand knowledge until I did, and I do now. I understand the case. Now, first of all, the Supreme Court has never determined a case like this, and all of the experts are saying that Ted Cruz would very likely win if he went into the Supreme Court with this case. So what's going on with this? Ted Cruz, he was born in Canada. Yes, his mother was a American citizen. So natural born citizen. She can convey that citizenship to Ted. Where's the argument coming up from for this? It's the original intent, the contextualist, the originalists. Those are the people that are saying that. Well, Ted Cruz. And by the way, Ted Cruz's professor is calling Ted Cruz kind of a hypocrite on this. This is the guy who said Ted Cruz is a brilliant, one of his most brilliant students. Very articulate. He's like the most masterful student he had. I sound like Donald Trump right now. He's brilliant. He's big. He's huge. You get the idea. But his professor called him a hypocrite essentially because he was saying that Cruz always touts original intent. However, the kind of interpretation it would take to declare Cruz a natural born citizen would be somebody who's not going to go off the original interpretation of the Constitution. But let me be clear, all right? The reason why, let's explain why the original intent would not include Ted Cruz's birth in Canada by an American mother as a natural-born citizen. The reason why is because the documents, like the books and the books that the founders are reading, basically saying what it means to be a natural-born citizen. What it was interpreted at that time of the writing of the Constitution that only a father, only a man can convey natural-born citizen status to his child, to his offspring. So a woman, because at the time women weren't considered full citizens. So because women weren't full citizens, they couldn't convey that which they did not have, because they themselves were not full citizens themselves. So because of this. Again, you can't convey what you don't have. Just like Ted Cruz makes the argument now that there should not be natural-born citizenship given to people who are born here in America who have two illegal parents, because you can't convey that which you do not have. If you're an illegal coming here illegally to have a baby, an anchor baby, I know that's not politically correct, but that's exactly what it is, an anchor baby. You can't convey that what you don't have. So you can't give an American citizenship to your child. You can't hand that to them if you yourself don't have it. So back to the original intent, though. The original intent discriminated against women for citizenship. They weren't considered full citizens, so they couldn't convey natural-born citizenship to their children. However, the Constitution has changed. All right, the Equal Protection Clause, and it's the way that it's been being interpreted recently. And look, I have my own beef with the 14th Amendment. I have a major problem with the 14th Amendment being applied to all sorts of stuff that the federal government can get its mitts in now. But this is the way that the Constitution is now, and it's the way that the Supreme Court has interpreted the Constitution. So. Equal Protection Clause, using the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, they have they've basically interpreted it so, and this is the way the experts would believe. So basically, they would use the 14th Amendment to say that, well, you can't not give Ted Cruz citizenship or natural-born citizen from his mother, who was a U.S. citizen, because that would be discriminating against her, and using the 14th Amendment, she must have equal protection under the law as a man would, so she can convey natural-born citizenship to Ted Cruz. Now, again, like I said, I have my own beef with the 14th Amendment, but that is the facts. I mean, that's the facts of the case. So it's not that you're not going with the originalist intent, because let's be clear. All right, imagine if inside, because the original intent that I actually care about is, I care about it in the whole document, honestly, but the original intent that I think really is important, the stuff that you put stars by, the whole document's important, but the stuff you put stars by is the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. All right, that stuff is so clear. It's crystal clear in the original intent. But let's look at if in the rest of the Constitution, let's say, upon the founding, they put prohibition of alcohol in the Constitution, okay? And then they amend the Constitution like they did with the 14th Amendment. That was an amendment. It wasn't in there to begin with, and then we amend the Constitution to get rid of prohibition. It is originalist intent to look at the removing of the prohibition. So, I disagree with the 14th Amendment, but it is in our Constitution, and the way that the Supreme Court interprets it is that it created a federal citizen that they can stick their nose into states' business, and that's how they're using it now. So if they're going to use it for that, I still have some stuff to research on as far as the original intent surrounding the 14th Amendment and things along those lines. I'm still trying to track this down, but I've narrowed the argument down. This is the facts, all right? Ted Cruz, if he went up against the Supreme Court now, he would be determined to be eligible by the Supreme Court based on current precedent that we have set from the Supreme Court now. Now, granted, is that originalist? To look at that stuff? I don't know. The case could be made, but I'll tell you that all the experts seem to think that Ted Cruz is eligible to run as president. So let's go to the next topic here. Let me find the feature topics. We got 10 minutes left in the program. Okay, so the FBI is trying to force Apple to open up 12 other phones that are not related to the San Bernadino terrorist attack. This is what I was telling you, gang. They're trying to. This is all. First of all, I think this is political theater. I think that they probably already have access to these phones. I think that they just want to make it look like, hey, gang, or hey, that we're going to try to. We're going to force Apple to do this. And what I think they want is to be able to put it out there publicly that they can already do what they're trying to get done. But I think the bigger precedent to be set here, and again, the FBI has already admitted that they are actually, the litigation here will create a precedent. This is an article on RonPaulLiberty.com. Before I get to the article, I'm concerned about the precedent of forcing people to create products. No different than I was when it was the bakers forced to bake a cake for a homosexual wedding. I have a major problem with forcing people to do things. Force. That's my issue. Is forcing people to do stuff. So the idea that you're entitled to make somebody work. If somebody chooses not to work for you, that you can punish them either civilly or criminally. I have an issue with that. But here's a report on RonPaulLibertyReport.com, Article 25, February 2016. FBI backtracks, admits Apple litigation will be precedent. Federal Bureau of Investigation FBI Director James Comey seems to have quickly reversed course to admit the obvious, that the February 16th magistrate judge's orders for Apple to help the U.S. government breach an iPhone security, including encryption, is as much about establishing precedent for more court orders as it is about the government trying to obtain information connected to one phone related to December 2nd mass murderer, let's just call it terrorist, in San Bernardino, California. On Sunday, Comey issued a statement that started with this declaration. The San Bernadino litigation is about trying to set a precedent or send... I'm sorry, it isn't about trying to set a precedent or send any kind of message. Then, on Thursday, Comey backtracked from this assurance by testifying before the U.S. House Intelligence Committee that the orders and appeals arising from the order will be instructive for other courts. Comey told the committee, whatever the judge's decision is in California, and I'm sure it will be appealed, no matter how it ends up, will be instructive for other courts. And there may well be other cases that involve the same kind of phone and the same operating system. What the experts have told me is that the combination, and here's where I'm going to get well out of my depth of the 5C iPhone, and this particular operating system is sufficiently unusual that it is unlikely to be a trailblazer because of technology being the limiting principle, but sure, a decision by a judge, the judge weighing a decision in Brooklyn right now, all this decision will guide how other courts handle similar requests. Obviously. So they're creating case law, they're creating precedent for this. So, it's disturbing when people say, oh yeah, we should just force Apple to make a product. That's slavery. And I said it last week. How is it not? How could you articulate that it is not slavery to force someone to work, to make a product? I have a fundamental issue with this, and in fact, it violates the non-aggression principle. So I have a major problem with it. So let's move on to another topic here real quick. We have... Have you been on Facebook recently, gang? Have you seen these new emojis? I think is what they're called. Emojis. The ones that they basically have your emotions on them. It has the big thumbs up, the heart sign for a love, the smiley laughing face for like it made you laugh, a shocked face, it's wow, a sad face, it's got a little teardrop on it, and then an angry face on it. Well, there has been some discussion about this, about how Facebook is actually trying to use these to track your emotions. Very Orwellian, very concerning to me. And I'm curious what you guys think about this. I don't like the fact that everything is being tracked, the information is being sold to corporations, but Facebook has been talking about how they want to track your behavior. In 2014, Facebook quietly published a research paper revealing that the company had intentionally altered the news feeds of about 700,000 of its users to see if showing them more uplifting or unsettling content could affect their emotional state. The study drummed up an outrage and only barely proved that altering someone's timeline would change the user's behavior. This is an article on Mike.com. Article is titled, Facebook is using those new like emojis to keep tabs on your emotions. An article by Jack Smith. It's very concerning, very Orwellian, the fact that they're trying to do this kind of stuff. I don't understand what's going on with social media. Why in the hell are they making it so partisan? Here's an article about the hashtag Free Stacey. Apparently, Twitter has been attacking conservative points of view by ghost blocking. They have this committee that they've established on Twitter. I can't remember what it's called now. I'm trying to skim through the article here. But they're trying to make Twitter a safe space, and there's no such thing as a safe space. Let's be real. But they've set up a board basically where one of the people on the board, they're basically a big proponent of the Stacey. I think it's the McCain's daughter. She's the blogger, John McCain's daughter. I think is it, but. She's been ghost blocked or something along those lines, and they're going around removing check marks off of conservative points of view. Look, all I'm saying, I will go in halvesies on anybody who wants to get into the social media business. I think these guys would be so easy to replace, and all you got to do is say, look. You want to create a safe space? Okay, go to Facebook, go to Twitter. But if you want freedom of speech and you don't want to be tracked, you don't want a company that's going to comply with the government at every turn. You want somebody that's going to try to stand up and actually protect your freedom of privacy and your freedom of speech, you come over here. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You say what you want, and we're not going to censor you. Obviously have some stipulations for things that violate the non-aggression principle, like posting things with about little children or stuff like that. What do they call that? Child pornography. There you go. But other than that, and if you want to have it a decent place, I guess if you want to limit pornography, honestly, I'm not for that. But I think you should not. I'm not for censoring. Period. So anyway, that's our show for today. I hope you guys appreciated it. I hope you liked it. If you did, smash the like button on whatever platform you're listening to. Leave us a review if you're on iTunes. Don't forget to check us out at our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. Like us on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us on or like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us on Twitter at OnTheMoveShow. And please subscribe to us on YouTube, YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.